Yang Fan walked out onto the street alone and saw that the once bustling city had become much quieter. There seemed to be far fewer people on the streets, and the usual traffic jam on the opposite road had completely disappeared. Aside from himself, there was not a single man in sight. The only people passing by were women of all ages. Could it be that I am the only man left in this world? The thought suddenly crossed Yang Fan's mind. Just a short while ago, he had woken up and heard countless people searching for someone in the residential complex below. Some were looking for their husbands, others for their fathers, and others for their brothers. Every missing person had one thing in common. They were all men. So many men had disappeared at the same time. It was an unprecedented incident. Curious about what was happening outside, Yang Fan immediately went to investigate. When he reached the courtyard of his residential complex, he found that the once lively neighborhood was now filled entirely with women. Other than himself, there was not a single man to be seen. Unable to understand what had happened, he left the complex and walked through several streets, even visiting the busiest pedestrian street in the city. There were less than half as many people as before, and everywhere he looked, there were only women. Seeing this strange scene, Yang Fan could not help but wonder once again. Could I really be the only man left in the entire world? Ding! The many children, much happiness system has successfully bonded with the host. As a reward for perfect synchronization, the host receives a beginner welcome gift pack. The many children, much happiness system? Did I really obtain a system? Yang Fan had read plenty of novels and knew exactly what a system was. It was a miraculous tool capable of changing a person's destiny and leading them to the pinnacle of life. I obtained the many children, much happiness system, and now I am the only man left in the entire world. Does that not mean the perfect life is waiting for me? Yang Fan could not hide his excitement. If everything was truly as he imagined, then every problem in his life had just disappeared. A mortgage? A car loan? A bride price? None of those mattered anymore. He would never have to worry about finding a wife again. Countless beautiful women would line up, hoping to marry him. While he was happily imagining his future, the women on the street also began to notice that something about the city felt completely different today. There were far fewer people. Men had vanished from everywhere, as though they had simply disappeared overnight. Everyone around him discussed the bizarre situation in confusion. As the women looked around, they soon spotted the only remaining man, Yang Fan. One after another, they began staring at him with strange expressions while whispering among themselves. What is going on today? Where did all the men go? Why is there not a single one left? Why is he the only man left on the entire street? What happened? So what if the men disappeared? Is it impossible to live without them? Personally, I think life might even be better without them. Less trouble. This is strange. Why is my husband not answering his phone? Mine is not answering either. Feeling countless eyes fixed upon him, Yang Fan unexpectedly found himself enjoying the attention. Even the proud beauties who would never have spared him a glance before were now unable to take their eyes off him. Something like this would have been unimaginable in the past. Now that I am the only man left in the world, it is finally time to do what I should have done long ago. With that thought, Yang Fan turned around and headed back toward his residential complex. The thing he had wanted to do for a long time was divorce Wu Qian. Recently, Wu Qian had constantly demanded a divorce, believing he was a complete failure. She despised him for his inability to earn enough money and believed he had no future. Yang Fan was an ordinary man. He had never attended a prestigious university, and after graduation he had relied on countless connections just to find a fairly decent job. Even so, his salary was modest. Several years after starting work, he got married. The wedding expenses, the bride price, the apartment, and the car completely emptied not only his own savings, but also his parents' life savings. On top of that, they had borrowed a massive amount of money from the bank. They purchased a spacious 120 square meter apartment in a highly sought-after school district, which made the mortgage especially overwhelming. With his current income, he would not finish repaying all the loans until he was somewhere between 40 and 50 years old. And that did not even include the cost of raising children. Once those expenses were added, escaping debt seemed almost impossible. It felt as though he would spend the rest of his life paying off loans. That was only assuming he remained healthy. If he ever became seriously ill, the entire family would immediately fall into financial ruin. Because of this, Wu Qian gradually became more and more disappointed in him. She looked down on him more with each passing day, constantly picked fights, and did everything she could to force him into a divorce. But Yang Fan had always refused. He understood his own situation. If they divorced, he would never again be able to afford such an enormous bride price. After the divorce, he would most likely remain alone forever. So he chose to stay with Wu Qian. Although love had long since disappeared from their marriage, at least he still had a family. Despite looking down on him, Wu Qian still spent time with him as husband and wife at night. Many single men could only dream of having even that much. That was why Yang Fan had refused to divorce her for so long. He took responsibility for all the housework. Wu Qian controlled every cent of the family's money. Whenever she scolded him, he remained silent. Whenever she hit him, he never fought back. Little by little, Yang Fan became a man who had completely lost his self-respect. Life had worn away every sharp edge of his personality. But now everything had changed. In the past, there had been far more men than women. Now the situation had completely reversed and reached the absolute extreme. If a woman wanted to marry him now, even if she offered him a bride price herself, there was no guarantee he would accept. After returning home, Yang Fan saw Wu Qian sitting in front of the vanity, applying her makeup. She worked as a sales clerk in a nearby jewelry store. Her appearance was only slightly above average, and her figure was nothing particularly remarkable. Even so, when Yang Fan married her, he had been forced to pay a substantial bride price and take out loans for both the apartment and the car. Oh, if it is not Mr. Mortgage, Wu Qian sneered the moment she saw him return. You should be heading to work soon. Why are you not out making money to pay off your loans? Why did you come back home? Yang Fan looked at her calmly. Let's get divorced. The moment he spoke those words, he felt an incredible sense of relief. Wu Qian looked up at him in surprise. What is this? Did the sun rise in the west today? You have always been against divorce. Why did you suddenly agree so easily? Enough talking. If you really want a divorce, grab the paperwork and let us go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Thinking back on how he had lived all these years only strengthened his determination. Great. You finally came to your senses. I was starting to worry you would change your mind again. Wu Qian immediately took the divorce documents she had prepared long ago out of the drawer. Let's go, Mr. Mortgage. Put them into her bag, stood up, and said. She had dreamed of divorcing Yang Fan for a long time. The only thing that puzzled her was why he had suddenly agreed so readily today. He glared at Wu Qian with an angry expression. If you say those 3 words to me one more time, I will beat your face until it is unrecognizable. Wu Qian froze. In the 5 years of their marriage, this was the first time Yang Fan had ever lost his temper with her. She could tell that he was genuinely furious this time. However, she had already developed a habit. She had grown accustomed to bullying Yang Fan every single day, and such a habit could not be changed overnight. You actually dare to lose your temper with me? Have you lost your mind? Wu Qian immediately raised her hand to strike Yang Fan. Yang Fan caught her wrist in one swift motion and squeezed it tightly. You still want to hit me? Starting today, I am never going to indulge you again. With that, Yang Fan gave her a forceful pull to the side, causing Wu Qian to lose her balance and crash onto the floor. Ah! Wu Qian cried out in pain. Yang Fan had no intention of continuing the argument. He gave her a cold glance before turning and walking out. What is wrong with him today? Has all the anger he suppressed for years finally exploded? Wu Qian looked at Yang Fan's completely changed behavior, utterly bewildered. Forget it. He finally agreed to divorce me today. I should take care of the important matter first. Wu Qian got up from the floor, picked up her handbag, and followed him outside. She genuinely wanted a divorce. Recently, her mother had told her about a divorced woman from their hometown who already had a child, but still received a bride price of 800,000 yuan when she remarried. That did not even include a house and a car. Most importantly, the man she married had never been married before and was very handsome. After marrying him, the divorced woman with a child lived an extremely happy life. She did not have to do any work every day and even controlled all the household finances. Earlier that year, the man had even bought her a luxury car so she could drive her child to and from school. He treated her incredibly well. It was precisely because she had heard stories like that Wu Qian had been demanding a divorce more and more frequently, and with increasing determination. She believed her own circumstances were no worse than that divorced woman's. In fact, she thought they were even better. Although she would soon be divorced herself, she had no children and considered herself more attractive than that woman. With qualifications like hers, she felt she could afford to be selective. She had already decided that her next husband had to be wealthy, handsome, allow her to control the household finances, and, most importantly, treat her like a little princess. That, in her eyes, was the perfect marriage. What she did not know was that, under the current circumstances, finding another husband was impossible. She would be fortunate just to find another man. Yang Fan and Wu Qian arrived downstairs and drove to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Throughout the drive, Wu Qian kept fantasizing about finding her Prince Charming. She paid no attention whatsoever to what was happening outside. Afraid that Wu Qian might notice the situation and change her mind, Yang Fan deliberately drove as fast as he could. They reached the Civil Affairs Bureau in a very short time. The building was in complete chaos. Just like outside, it was filled entirely with women. There was not a single man to be seen. Many women who had come there either to get married or divorced were desperately searching for their husbands. They had arrived together, but somehow the men had suddenly vanished without a trace. Even the male employees of the Civil Affairs Bureau had failed to show up for work. Why is everything so chaotic here? Wu Qian looked around the lobby in confusion. Stop talking. Hurry up and come with me to finish the paperwork. Fearing that Wu Qian might notice something, Yang Fan immediately took her upstairs to the office handling divorce procedures. Originally, several couples had been ahead of them in line. Now, because the men in those couples had disappeared, they were all pushed to the back. Look how impatient you are. Do not worry. Even if the sky falls today, I am still going to complete the divorce with you. Wu Qian looked at Yang Fan with disdain. Thinking about the wonderful married life waiting for her in the future, she looked down on Yang Fan even more. That is exactly what I want. Hearing those words, Yang Fan finally relaxed. He even felt a trace of delight. The procedures went very smoothly. Before long, both Yang Fan and Wu Qian were each holding a divorce certificate. From that moment onward, they were no longer husband and wife. After 5 years of marriage, it is finally over. On such a memorable day, why do not we celebrate by having a meal together? Looking at the divorce certificate in her hand, Wu Qian suddenly felt a deep sense of reluctance. After all, they had been together for 5 years. It was impossible not to have developed some feelings. Although Yang Fan had never achieved much in life, he had always treated her extremely well. Throughout those 5 years, he had never once argued with her. He had always obeyed her every wish, making him a far better husband than most others. Celebrate my ass. There is a public restroom across the street. If you want to eat shit, go there and help yourself. Without even looking at her, Yang Fan stuffed the certificate into his pocket and walked away. Wu Qian was so furious that she nearly exploded. But remembering that they no longer had any relationship, she did not continue chasing after him. Outside, the situation had become even more chaotic. Voices filled the air everywhere, all of them belonging to women. Remembering what she had seen in the lobby earlier, Wu Qian turned to the female employee handling the paperwork. What happened here? Why is everything in such chaos? You do not know yet? All the men outside have disappeared together. Almost overnight, there is not a single man left anywhere in the city. The gentleman who just completed the paperwork with you was the first man I have seen all day. The employee replied. All the men disappeared. Wu Qian thought back. On the drive there really had been far fewer people outside, and the roads had been completely free of traffic. Very quickly, she realized how serious the situation was. She hurried into the main lobby and saw women everywhere. The men truly had all disappeared. Yang Fan. Only then did Wu Qian realize why Yang Fan had suddenly agreed to divorce her so readily that day. It was as though he had known something in advance. Now it seemed very likely that this was exactly what he had been relying on. Wu Qian rushed outside in a panic, only to discover that Yang Fan had already driven away. She immediately ran toward the roadside, where many taxis were parked. Most of them had no drivers. She continued all the way to the last taxi and discovered that it was being driven by a woman, making her even more anxious. "Driver, please take me home as fast as you can," Wu Qian pleaded urgently. On the way back, Yang Fan remembered that, after obtaining the system, he had also received a beginner's gift pack. He pulled his car over to the side of the road and began checking the reward. The next moment, a screen that only he could see appeared before him. It contained numerous options, along with his personal information, his current inventory, and even a shop. Yang Fan opened the shop and discovered that it contained every imaginable product, all of them advanced technology. After briefly examining the interface, he opened his inventory and found the beginner's gift pack exactly where he expected. Open the beginner's gift pack. As soon as he gave the command, the beginner's gift pack, shaped like a gift box, opened. Inside the beginner's gift pack were 3 items. They were Constitution Enhancement Serum, Rapid Growth Crop Seeds, and 100 square meter storage space. Constitution Enhancement Serum. This should be something that enhances my physical condition. After all, as the only man left in the world, I have to have an excellent body. Rapid Growth Crop Seeds. Does this mean the system wants me to start farming? Then again, it makes sense. Now that every man in the world has disappeared, many essential jobs have been left vacant. The entire world has entered a state of partial paralysis. The more food I have, the more women I can support. After looking over the 3 rewards, Yang Fan's attention quickly settled on the last item. 100 square meters of storage space. This should be meant for emergencies. Now that the world has entered a state of partial paralysis, storing food is absolutely necessary. With that thought in mind, Yang Fan immediately turned his attention to a small supermarket nearby. It was a supermarket he visited regularly. The owner was a middle-aged man. Now that the owner had disappeared, no one was left to manage the store. Yang Fan got out of his car and walked straight inside. "Boss, is anyone here?" He called out several times, but no one answered. "Since nobody is here, I will gladly take all of this." Yang Fan did not care whether the items were useful or not. With a wave of his hand, everything inside the supermarket was transferred into his storage space. His storage space possessed a special ability. Whether food or any other physical object was placed inside, it would never expire or deteriorate. In the blink of an eye, every item inside the supermarket had disappeared. Yang Fan then visited several other unattended shops, storing everything he considered useful. Only after filling the entire storage space did he return to his car, completely satisfied. Now let me find out what the Constitution Enhancement Serum tastes like. With a thought, a bottle of clear liquid appeared in his hand. It looked even purer than bottled spring water, without the slightest impurity. Yang Fan unscrewed the cap and took a few sips. The taste was surprisingly pleasant. He immediately finished the entire bottle. As soon as he drank the Constitution Enhancement Serum, Yang Fan felt warmth spreading throughout his body, as though he were basking in the sun. The next moment, he felt his entire body overflowing with strength, as though he possessed inexhaustible energy. Since this is the many children, many blessings system, I should hurry up and find a woman to test it, so I can earn more rewards. Yang Fan closed his eyes and considered who he should approach next. This was only the first day after the men had disappeared. The entire world was still confused, and the women had no idea what had happened. As time passed, they would gradually realize that Yang Fan was the only man left in the world. When that happened, he would become the most sought-after man alive. Countless women would throw themselves at him. Beautiful internet celebrities, successful businesswomen, and even famous actresses would all line up for the chance to meet him. But that was still in the future. The world had not reached that point yet. After careful consideration, Yang Fan decided to start with the woman who would be easiest to win over. That woman was Zhang Nan, Wu Qian's best friend. Zhang Nan was even more beautiful than Wu Qian and had an even better figure. She was the kind of woman whose appearance suggested she would have no trouble nursing children after marriage. In truth, Zhang Nan had always harbored feelings for Yang Fan. She believed he was an exceptionally rare good man, and she also found him rather handsome. As Wu Qian's best friend, she had witnessed firsthand how well Yang Fan treated Wu Qian. Throughout the 5 years Yang Fan and Wu Qian had been together, Zhang Nan had confessed her feelings to him more than once. Committed to his principles as a faithful husband, Yang Fan had always kept his distance. In fact, he had once considered divorcing Wu Qian and marrying Zhang Nan instead. However, he felt that Zhang Nan was somewhat too carefree. If she could fall in love with a married man like him now, perhaps she would someday fall for another married man. After thinking it through, he concluded that Wu Qian was the steadier woman, so he continued keeping his distance from Zhang Nan. But things were different now. Now Yang Fan was the only man left in the world. No matter how much Zhang Nan's feelings changed, she would never find another man. Thinking about Zhang Nan's alluring figure, Yang Fan immediately drove back to the residential complex where he lived. Zhang Nan's apartment was directly across the hall from his own. She had originally bought the apartment there so she could see Yang Fan every day. Arriving at her door, Yang Fan knocked. The door quickly opened. Zhang Nan appeared wearing a loose nightgown. Her long black hair rested lazily on her shoulders, while the loose fabric did little to conceal her striking figure. When she saw Yang Fan standing outside, joy first appeared on her face. A moment later, it turned into a resentful expression. "Were you not always afraid of seeing me? Every time you saw me, you avoided me. Why did you suddenly decide to come looking for me today?" "The reason is simple. I realized I was wrong. Having someone as beautiful as you right in front of me and never appreciating you. I must have been out of my mind." Yang Fan stepped forward and gently pulled Zhang Nan into his arms. Looking at her remarkably attractive figure, Yang Fan truly felt as though he had been a fool. Why had he kept avoiding such a beautiful woman? Countless men would have given anything to have her. Seeing Yang Fan embrace her, Zhang Nan was slightly surprised. After hearing his words, she felt that he had finally come to his senses. "So, are you planning to make up for that mistake today?" She did not reject him. Instead, she lowered her head slightly, although her voice still carried a trace of resentment. "Yes, words are meaningless. I would rather prove it through my actions." Faced with a woman as captivating as Zhang Nan, even though Yang Fan had once been a married man, he still found it difficult to restrain himself. Holding her in his arms, he led Zhang Nan into the apartment and casually closed the door behind them. Zhang Nan knew exactly what Yang Fan intended to do. Her heart filled with both excitement and anticipation. She had waited far too long for this day. A few minutes later, Wu Qian rushed back home. Throughout the ride, she had repeatedly urged the taxi driver to drive faster. However, the female driver had been talking on the phone while driving, apparently searching for her missing husband. Faced with another woman who had also lost her husband, Wu Qian found herself unable to complain. Arriving at her apartment, Wu Qian quickly took out her key and unlocked the door. At that moment, she was extremely grateful that she had not returned the key to Yang Fan at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Yang Fan. The moment she entered, she began calling his name. She searched every room but could not find him anywhere. "He is not back? Where did he go?" Wu Qian sat down weakly on the sofa, feeling as though she had lost the most important person in her life. The more she thought about it, the worse she felt. She took out her phone and called her mother, hoping to vent her feelings. The call connected almost immediately. Before Wu Qian even had a chance to speak, her mother anxiously blurted out, Qian, this is terrible. Your father and your younger brother have disappeared. Every man in the entire village is gone." Hearing this news, Wu Qian felt as though she had been struck by lightning. Could what that female driver said actually be true? Have all the men in the world disappeared? Wu Qian glanced around the empty house. Thinking of Yang Fan, who had still not returned, she was immediately overcome with a terrible feeling. Could Yang Fan have disappeared too? The moment that thought crossed her mind, she felt that it was highly likely. If every man in the world had vanished, how could Yang Fan possibly have survived unharmed? Why is my life so miserable? What on earth is happening? Wu Qian broke down in tears. Thinking that she would never be able to marry again, and that her husband had disappeared as well, she had no idea how she was supposed to go on living. She had already grown accustomed to the life where, every other day, Yang Fan would send her soaring to the heights of ecstasy. Now that Yang Fan was gone, and she would never be able to marry again, Wu Qian suddenly felt that all the color had drained from her life. Just then, Wu Qian vaguely heard some movement coming from the apartment across the hall. She immediately held her breath and listened carefully. To hear more clearly, she opened her door and walked over to Zhang Nan's apartment. This time, she heard it clearly. Zhang Nan was doing exactly what Wu Qian had always longed for. Judging by the sounds, the man inside seemed to be quite capable. Were not all the men in the world supposed to have disappeared? Why is there still a man in Zhang Nan's apartment? Could she be using a toy? That cannot be right either. No matter how good a toy is, it still cannot compare to a real man. Wu Qian desperately wanted to knock on Zhang Nan's door to see whether there was really a man inside. But after thinking it over, she decided it would be inappropriate. After all, interrupting someone in the middle of such an intimate moment, even if she was a close friend, would likely ruin the friendship. After giving it some thought, Wu Qian decided to wait until they were finished before knocking. However, that wait lasted for 2 full hours. Only then did everything finally quiet down, with both of them utterly exhausted. Although this was Zhang Nan's first intimate experience, she could tell that Yang Fan was truly exceptional, an extraordinarily rare man. After everything that had happened today, Zhang Nan felt that all the years she had spent waiting had been worthwhile. Yang Fan truly was the perfect man she had always dreamed of. Yang Fan was drenched in sweat, but his stamina was recovering rapidly. His recovery speed was now 10 times faster than before. In the past, after spending an intimate night with Wu Qian, he needed an entire day to recover before he could perform again the next day. Even at his best, he could only manage about half the days in a month. Now he felt that not only could he perform every single day, but even 2 or 3 times a day would not be a problem. And that was without even feeling tired. Now that we have reached this point, what are you planning to do next? Holding Yang Fan tightly, Zhang Nan knew that after what had happened, her friendship with Wu Qian had come to an end. Having experienced how wonderful Yang Fan was, Zhang Nan secretly made up her mind. No matter what it cost, she was determined to make this man hers. Of course I am going to stay with you forever. Yang Fan wrapped his arms around Zhang Nan and could not help marveling at the incredible power of the Constitution Enhancement Serum. Now both his performance and endurance had improved tremendously. He could effortlessly leave a woman completely satisfied and utterly devoted to him, without ever worrying about disappointing her again. He even felt that after a short rest, he could go another round. That is good. Then hurry up and finalize the divorce procedures with Wu Qian. From now on, do not go looking for her anymore. You are my man now. Zhang Nan held Yang Fan as though he were the greatest treasure in the world. It is already done. We completed the divorce 3 hours ago. Yang Fan replied with a smile. Really? That is wonderful. Hearing Yang Fan's words, Zhang Nan was overjoyed. She felt that all the years she had spent waiting had finally been rewarded. Knock, knock, knock. Nan, are you home? Wu Qian's voice suddenly came from outside. It is Qian. She came to see us. The moment she heard Wu Qian's voice, Zhang Nan panicked. But then she remembered that Yang Fan and Wu Qian were no longer husband and wife, and she quickly calmed down. Do not be afraid. Go open the door. Sooner or later she is going to find out about us. Yang Fan gently patted Zhang Nan. Zhang Nan nodded, put on her nightgown, and opened the door. Nan, did you get yourself a boyfriend? Something this important, and you did not even tell me. You are such a terrible friend. As soon as the door opened, Wu Qian spoke to Zhang Nan while stretching her neck to look inside the apartment. Very soon, she saw Yang Fan walking out of the bedroom. Yang Fan? It is actually you. The moment Wu Qian saw Yang Fan in Zhang Nan's apartment, she remembered that he had divorced her only moments earlier and had immediately gotten together with her best friend. Instantly, rage exploded inside her. She rushed inside, grabbed the nearby mop, and swung it at Yang Fan. Seeing this, Zhang Nan immediately stepped in front of Yang Fan and blocked Wu Qian. Wu Qian, you are no longer Yang Fan's wife. You have no right to hit him. He is my man now. Your man? Are you saying you do not want to be my best friend anymore? Wu Qian stared at Zhang Nan in shock. Her best friend suddenly felt both familiar and completely unfamiliar. Yes, things have already come this far, so I am no longer afraid to tell you the truth. I have liked Yang Fan for a very long time. In my eyes, he is the perfect man. To stop Wu Qian from continuing to harass Yang Fan, Zhang Nan finally revealed the secret she had hidden for so long. Zhang Nan, you are ruthless, but I cannot swallow this humiliation. I am going to teach him a lesson today, no matter what. Looking into Zhang Nan's determined eyes, Wu Qian knew she was telling the truth. Wu Qian had long been accustomed to lashing out whenever she pleased, never caring about Yang Fan's dignity. Today, she had to vent her anger. "You dare? I will never let you hit my man." Zhang Nin firmly stood in front of Yang Fan. Even if she had to take the blow herself, she was determined to protect him. Watching the two women who were on the verge of fighting, Yang Fan thought that this was only the first day after the disappearance of all men, yet already two beautiful women were ready to fight over him to the bitter end. As time went on, situations like this would only become more and more intense. "Wu Qian, go home. Today, I will not let you hit me, and I will never again be the man who silently endured your blows and insults. We are no longer husband and wife. There is no relationship between us anymore." Yang Fan stood up from the sofa and looked at Wu Qian with unwavering determination. He was no longer the same Yang Fan he used to be. From now on, with the power of the system, he was going to build an entirely new world in this world without men. I will beat you to death." Looking at Yang Fan's resolute expression, Wu Qian could hardly believe that this was the same man who had lived with her for 5 years, always obeying her every wish. Now this man had become successful. He had found his backbone. He would never again submit to her every demand. The thought filled Wu Qian with resentment. She immediately swung the mop in her hand at Yang Fan. Since Zhang Nin was standing in front of Yang Fan, the mop would hit her first. As the mop was about to strike Zhang Nan on the head, she closed her eyes in fear. However, the blow never landed. Nor did Zhang Nan feel any pain. When she opened her eyes, she saw that Yang Fan had caught the mop, preventing her from being hurt. "I already told you. From this day forward, I will never let you hit me again. And do not even think about laying a hand on my woman." With a powerful yank, Yang Fan flung the mop aside, sending Wu Qian stumbling to the ground. Wu Qian fell to the floor with a loud thud. The fall itself did not hurt very much, but it shattered her heart. "Yang Fan, you actually hit me. You hit me because of her." That swing with the mop had been aimed at both Yang Fan and Zhang Nan. After all, her closest friend had stolen her man. How could she not be furious? "Yes, I hit you. I hit you because of her. Have you finally given up now?" Yang Fan stared at Wu Qian coldly, without the slightest trace of sympathy. Throughout their 5 years of marriage, Wu Qian had never treated him like her husband, nor even as a man. She had simply treated him like a servant she could order around at will. 5 years of living without dignity had completely extinguished Yang Fan's love for Wu Qian. "Fine. I am leaving. I will let the two of you be together." Wu Qian had finally accepted reality. Filled with despair, she got to her feet and turned to leave. Yang Fan's words continued to echo in her mind. "Do not even think about laying a hand on my woman." Those words cut into her heart like a knife. She felt utterly miserable. After returning home and closing the door, she collapsed into loud, uncontrollable sobs. Hearing Wu Qian crying, Zhang Nin felt a pang of guilt. But when she thought about the man she had dreamed of for so many years, she ultimately chose not to go comfort Wu Qian. Yang Fan sat back down on the sofa, closed his eyes, and checked the reward the system had given him. The moment he had made Zhang Nan his woman, the system had immediately notified him. "Congratulations, Master. You have obtained your first admirer. Special rewards granted: 500 points, 1 copy of the Supreme Yang Divine Art, and 100 yin-yang harmonizing pills." Yang Fan looked over his personal status and found that there was indeed a points category. His starting balance had been 100 points. With the additional 500 points he had just earned, he now had a total of 600 points. Points could be used to purchase any item in the system shop. Next, he began examining the Supreme Yang Divine Art. With a thought, a martial arts manual appeared in his hands. Yang Fan opened it to the first page and read the introduction. He discovered that this cultivation technique resembled the methods once practiced by notorious seducers in ancient times. The more intimate encounters one had with women, the stronger the technique became. However, it was only a beginner-level cultivation method. At this stage, it could only increase one's internal energy. Yang Fan was in no hurry. Starting with internal energy suited him just fine. He then began cultivating according to the instructions in the manual. Perhaps because of the constitution enhancement serum he had taken earlier, cultivating this technique proved remarkably easy. It was not long before he had already mastered the fundamentals. Congratulations, Master. You have opened your primary meridians and obtained beginner level 1 internal energy. Your current internal energy is 100. I wonder how much internal energy I need before I can break through to beginner level 2. Now that Yang Fan had entered the first stage, further cultivation of the technique required the assistance of women. He decided to give it a try. Yang Fan looked around and realized that Zhang Nin was no longer in the living room. Just as he was about to look for her, he saw Zhang Nin walking out of the kitchen carrying a bowl of chicken soup. Husband, you worked hard just now. Have some chicken soup to nourish your body. It was the first time Zhang Nin had ever called a man husband. She felt a little embarrassed, and her cheeks flushed slightly. All right. Yang Fan accepted the bowl and began drinking the soup. He felt that Zhang Nan was far better than Wu Qian. Not only was she exceptionally gentle, but when it mattered most, she had willingly stood in front of him to protect him. Most importantly, she had even made chicken soup to help him recover. In every respect, she completely surpassed Wu Qian. To repay Zhang Nan for treating him so well, Yang Fan decided to prove himself once again through his actions. Zhang Nan was slightly startled. She had not expected Yang Fan's recovery ability to be so extraordinary, and she immediately felt as though she had found an incredible treasure. 2 hours later, Yang Fan discovered that his internal energy had increased to 200, but he had not received any additional rewards. It seems that if I want to receive another reward, I will either have to wait until Zhang Nin becomes pregnant or find a second admirer. After an unforgettable 4 hours, Zhang Nin could no longer hold on. She felt both blissfully happy and utterly exhausted, and gradually drifted off to sleep. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Yang Fan examined the 100 yin-yang harmonizing pills he had just received. He first checked their effects and discovered that they were intended for women. After a woman took a yin-yang harmonizing pill, she would no longer constantly be preoccupied with intimate desires. She would return to a normal state of mind and simply go about her daily life. After thinking it over, Yang Fan decided that these pills could be given to older women and women who were not particularly attractive. After all, he was now the only man left in the entire world. There was no way he could satisfy every woman. Besides, when it came to older women or those he did not find attractive, he simply could not bring himself to do it. It was only natural that, as time passed, those older women and less attractive women would become increasingly lonely as well. If they ever spotted Yang Fan walking down the street, they would probably rush over and tear him apart. At that point, giving each of them a yin-yang harmonizing pill would save him a great deal of trouble. Yang Fan glanced at the sleeping Zhang Nan and decided to test his internal energy. Now that he possessed beginner level 1 internal energy, he felt capable of defeating 10 healthy adult men at once, even if all of them had martial arts training. Walking into the living room, Yang Fan noticed a bucket of water against the wall and walked over to it. Using only 2 fingers to grip the rim of the bucket, he effortlessly lifted it. The bucket itself was not especially heavy. A reasonably strong person could lift it with one hand. But lifting it with only 2 fingers, as Yang Fan had done, was something an ordinary person simply could not accomplish. I still do not know why the system wants me to cultivate internal energy, but everything the system gives me has a purpose. I am sure it will become useful sooner or later. With that thought, Yang Fan began planning his future. Now that he was the only man left in the world, he intended to make full use of that fact and enjoy the company of every beautiful woman in existence. Women he had once admired but never dared approach were now within reach. Before doing that, however, Yang Fan planned to gather all the women in the residential complex together and establish a new order. With so many men disappearing all at once, the world had already entered a state of partial paralysis. Life would only become more difficult from here on. If he wanted to prevent society from descending into complete chaos, he had to establish a new order. To gather all the women in the residential complex, Yang Fan first needed to find someone. That person was Tan Xin, the property manager of Guangming Residential Complex. After getting dressed, Yang Fan headed downstairs and walked toward the property management office. When he arrived in the residential complex, it looked much the same as before. Countless women were still searching for the men who had suddenly disappeared, and the entire neighborhood was in complete disorder. The streets outside were even more chaotic. A group of particularly agitated women had gathered together, shouting, "We can live just fine without men." Watching their frenzied behavior, Yang Fan realized that he needed to act quickly. No matter which beautiful woman was hurt, Yang Fan would consider it a heartbreaking loss. In his eyes, every beautiful woman in the world was now his treasure. Yang Fan quickly arrived at the building where the property management office was located. It was just as chaotic there. Every female employee was making phone calls and had completely lost the desire to work. Tan Xinshin was also pacing anxiously inside, holding her phone and repeatedly trying to call someone. Yang Fan pushed open the door and walked in. Just as he was about to speak, every woman inside turned to look at him in unison. "A man? There is still a man here. Come and look. There is a man who did not disappear." A female employee stared at Yang Fan and shouted excitedly. The other women around her also looked at Yang Fan with excitement, as though they had discovered some rare species. Hearing the employees shout, Tan Xinshin also turned toward Yang Fan. When she saw that there really was a man standing there, she seemed unable to believe her own eyes. "Do you know what happened? Where did all the other men go? My father, my younger brother, and my older brother have all disappeared." Tan Xinshin rushed over in great agitation, grabbed Yang Fan by both arms, and questioned him. "I came here precisely to talk to you about this. I want you to gather all the women in the residential complex. Anyone from the surrounding streets who wants to know where the men went can come as well." Yang Fan explained why he had come. "Really? That is wonderful. I will notify everyone right away." Tan Xinshin was overjoyed. She immediately called on all the female property management employees to notify every woman in the residential complex. They were told to gather in the square at the center of the complex because someone would tell them where the men had gone. Since that morning, every man in the world had disappeared, leaving Yang Fan as the only man remaining. The women had exhausted every possible method to find their relatives and loved ones. They had searched everywhere they could think of, but had found nothing. It was already evening, and most of them were close to despair. When they heard that Yang Fan was going to tell them where the men had gone, a large number of women immediately came to wait. No one doubted Yang Fan because he was currently the only man any of them could see. Before long, the square at the center of Guangming residential complex was packed with women. At a glance, there were well over 1,000 of them. Besides the women who already lived in the complex, women from several nearby streets had also come. They all desperately wanted to know where the men had gone and why every one of them had vanished after a single night. Tan Xinshin and several female employees maintained order at the scene. Tan Xinshin, with her fair skin and beautiful features, looked somewhat haggard. Several members of her family had suddenly disappeared, leaving her constantly anxious. She had not eaten anything all day. Some of the women gathered there were curious, some were worried, while others did not care much and had merely come to see what was happening. This is truly bizarre. Every man disappeared overnight. How is something like that even possible? My husband is gone too. How am I supposed to live without him? Look at you. Are you saying you cannot survive without a man? Listen to yourself. Do not tell me no one in your family disappeared. If the men are gone, then they are gone. At least we will not have to worry about relationship problems anymore. While everyone was discussing the situation, Yang Fan arrived at the central square. His appearance immediately drew the attention of every woman present. It is a man. It really is a man. There is still one man who did not disappear. There is only one man. That is nowhere near enough for so many women to share. The crowd immediately became restless again. Everyone, please quiet down. Mr. Yang will now speak to us. He knows where all the missing men went. Holding a megaphone, Tan Xinshin shouted toward the crowd. After hearing her words, everyone fell silent and waited attentively for Yang Fan to explain where the missing men had gone. Yang Fan walked onto the steps at the front and looked over the more than 1,000 women before him. He noticed that many of them were beautiful. Among them were former classmates he had once secretly admired, as well as beautiful women he had passed in the city without ever speaking to. Now all of these women were looking at him expectantly. Ladies, I am sure you have already realized that almost every man in the world disappeared overnight. To tell you the truth, I do not know where those men went either. Yang Fan hesitated for a moment before ultimately telling them the truth. What? You do not know where the men went either? Then why did you gather all of us here? Exactly. You are wasting everyone's time. We still need to hurry and keep searching for them. Handsome man, are you single? Do you need a girlfriend? I do not need a bride price. I will even bring you a dowry. Please consider me. You are still talking about bride prices at a time like this? Stop dreaming. Handsome man, I can give you several houses and cars. I will give you all of my money. Let me be your girlfriend. The crowd descended into chaos once again. Some women prepared to leave, while others began setting their sights on Yang Fan. Tan Xin had also been looking at Yang Fan expectantly. After hearing his words, the light in her eyes immediately faded, and she prepared to turn away. Wait, I have not finished speaking yet. Although I do not know where those men went, as the only man in the world who did not disappear, I believe there must be a reason heaven left me behind. I am willing to search for the truth behind the men's disappearance together with all of you. But before that, I hope you will carefully consider our current situation. With so many men suddenly gone, the entire world has already entered a state of partial paralysis. Even setting public order aside, we may soon face shortages of the most basic daily necessities. Yang Fan spoke through the megaphone to the more than 1,000 women before him. After hearing his words, the crowd fell silent again. What he said was correct. Even without considering other places, the city they were currently in had suddenly lost so many men that work in numerous industries had already ground to a halt. Restaurants were one obvious example. Many restaurant chefs were men. Most of the women working in restaurants were waitresses and cashiers. Without chefs or kitchen staff, those restaurants were effectively forced to close. Many of the women had already experienced this firsthand. While searching for their missing relatives that day, they had also tried to eat at several restaurants. They discovered that the chefs in many of those restaurants had disappeared. Without anyone to prepare food, there was naturally no way for them to eat there. Although many women were also excellent cooks, not every woman knew how to cook, especially in the modern era. Very few young women knew how to cook. Besides dining, there was also the issue of supplies reaching supermarkets. Most of the things people needed in daily life were purchased from supermarkets and shops. The delivery drivers were almost all men. Very few women knew how to drive trucks, and hardly any women worked in that profession. The vegetables and meat sold in supermarkets were also mostly delivered from nearby villages and slaughterhouses. The people making those deliveries were almost always men. After all, it was dirty and physically demanding work, the kind of job that was generally handled by men. Now that so many men had disappeared, no one was left to transport supplies into the city, meaning the people living there would soon face the risk of going hungry. And that was only what could be seen immediately. There were also long-term consequences. Take the farmland surrounding the city, for example. When harvest season arrived, it was usually men working in the fields. It was precisely because so many men worked in countless unnoticed corners, doing dirty and exhausting jobs, that the world was able to function normally. Now that those men were gone, the world would inevitably grind to a halt. Before long, even survival itself would become a problem. So what do you think we should do? Every man in the world has disappeared except for you. One man cannot possibly do all those jobs. Exactly. What is the point of saying all this if nothing can be done? Everyone calm down. Let us hear what he has to say first. It will not be too late to decide afterward. With that in mind, everyone's eyes focused intently on Yang Fan, eager to hear what solution he had. You are right. By myself, I cannot possibly make the world function again. But I can unite all of you. Together, we can make this world run again. That way, our survival will have hope. Once we have secured that foundation, I will search for the truth behind the disappearance of the men together with all of you. Yang Fan looked at every woman before him as he spoke. All right, that is really our only option. From now on, we will follow you. That is right. From now on, we will follow you. Yang Fan's words had the desired effect. Most of the women believed that heaven must have had a reason for leaving Yang Fan as the only man. In any case, they had no idea what to do anymore, so the only choice left was to follow Yang Fan. Not everyone chose to follow him. However, a small number of women quietly left. Yang Fan did not force the issue. He could never control everyone's thoughts. Seeing that nearly 1,000 women were willing to follow him, Yang Fan was very satisfied. With the help of Tan Qinchin and several female employees, he began registering everyone and asked each woman to submit a photograph. Afterward, he planned to assign positions according to each person's abilities, rebuild order, and restore daily life. At first, Yang Fan personally handled the work of registering everyone. Soon, quite a few women came over to flatter him. "Mr. Yang, you have worked hard. It is getting late. Please go back and rest. Leave this work to me." "That is right, Mr. Yang. You are the hope of all of us. You must not exhaust yourself." "Mr. Yang, what time will you wake up tomorrow? I will prepare a nutritious breakfast for you." Yang Fan looked at the circle of women eagerly trying to please him and thoroughly enjoyed the feeling. However, these ordinary women did not interest him. Instead, his gaze shifted toward Tan Qinchin, who was still busy working nearby. "Qinchin, leave the work to them. I have something I want to discuss with you." Hearing Yang Fan address her so intimately in front of so many people, Tan Qinchin could not help blushing. She nodded and left with Yang Fan. The two of them walked away from the bustling square and onto a quiet path nearby. After making sure no one else was around, Yang Fan pulled Tan Qinchin into his arms and kissed her. The many children, many blessings system required the other person to give willing consent. Yang Fan had been observing Tan Qinchin the entire time. Seeing that she neither resisted nor showed any unwillingness, he continued. The reason Tan Qinchin did not reject him was that, considering the current situation, she knew she no longer had any other choice. If she wanted to survive in this half-paralyzed world, she had to rely on Yang Fan, the only man left. Thinking that Yang Fan was now the only man in the entire world, being favored by him was practically a blessing from heaven. Naturally, she was not about to let such an opportunity slip away. To ensure that she would continue receiving his affection in the future and would not be left longing for it, Tan Qinchin gradually changed from passive to proactive. Tan Qinchin had a slender figure, fair skin, and beautiful features. She had graceful curves in all the right places, making her an almost perfect woman. Whenever Yang Fan had passed the property management office in the past and seen her, he could not help imagining what it would be like to have her. Now, his dream had finally come true. At midnight, on the lawn of the residential complex, Tan Qinchin, having experienced a man for the first time, nestled contentedly in Yang Fan's arms. She felt that even if Yang Fan were not the only man left in the world, she still would have fallen hopelessly in love with him. Because this man could give her a kind of happiness that no one else could. "Congratulations, Master. You have obtained your second admirer. Rewards: 500 points, 100 Constitution Enhancement Pills, and 1 copy of the Primordial Taiji Hand." I received rewards again. Just like before, there are 3 different rewards. Points can be used to purchase items in the system shop. I wonder what the Constitution Enhancement Pills do. Yang Fan checked the description and discovered that they were simply ordinary pills that improved physical constitution. With his current physique, he no longer needed such pills. After thinking about it, Yang Fan decided that these constitution enhancement pills could be given to the women living in the residential complex. He planned to establish a security team responsible for maintaining order throughout the city. The members of that team would need combat ability, and these constitution enhancement pills would greatly enhance their strength. With that in mind, Yang Fan began examining the martial arts manual, Primordial Taiji Hand. The supreme Yang divine art he had obtained earlier enhanced his internal energy. This new manual focused on martial techniques. After reading the introduction, Yang Fan discovered that Primordial Taiji Hand could not only be cultivated as a martial art with offensive techniques, but could also be applied as an intimate art. Once this technique was mastered, its methods would surpass even those of the world's greatest massage master. Using these techniques on Yang Fan's admirers would allow them to experience even greater pleasure. "What are you thinking about?" Tan Qinchin looked at Yang Fan, who had fallen into thought, and asked. "Nothing." Yang Fan smiled slightly. The system belonged to him alone. It was a secret he would never reveal to anyone. Now that you are the only man left in the world, you are only going to become more and more sought after. Do not forget about me. Tan Xinxin looked at Yang Fan with a resentful yet affectionate expression as she began thinking about the future. Do not worry. I will not forget you. It is getting late. I will stay at your place tonight. After an exhausting day, even though his physique had just been enhanced, Yang Fan still felt somewhat tired. Wu Qian was still living in his home, and he did not want to return to Zhang Nan's apartment either, so he decided to spend the night at Tan Xinxin's home. Naturally, Tan Xinxin was more than happy to agree. After arriving at Tan Xinxin's home, Yang Fan looked at her slightly disheveled clothes and once again found himself overcome with desire. He did not wake up until noon the following day. It was now the second day since all the men had disappeared. He did not know what the situation was like elsewhere, but the area around Yang Fan's residential complex had already regained order, and everyone had returned to their daily lives. After lunch, Yang Fan asked Tan Xinxin and several female employees from the property management office to bring him all the photographs of the women who had joined them the previous day. He also instructed them to select several women with outstanding abilities to serve as supervisors. Each supervisor would be responsible for managing a specific area. Yang Fan would be the highest-ranking supervisor among them. Below him were Tan Xinxin and the female employees from the property management office. Below them were the junior supervisors they had selected. Husband, now that we have a team of nearly 1,000 people, why do not we give our organization a name? As we continue bringing more people into our group, it will only grow larger. We cannot go without a name. Tan Xinxin looked at Yang Fan gently as she spoke. After everything they had experienced together the previous day, she had been completely won over by Yang Fan and had decided to follow him wholeheartedly from now on. You are right. We should give it a name. How about calling it the Kingdom of Women? Yang Fan felt that the current state of the world was remarkably similar to the legendary Kingdom of Women from mythology, so he chose that name. There was another reason as well. He intended to build a nation inhabited entirely by women, where he would be the only man as well as its king. Kingdom of Women. That is a wonderful name. It perfectly fits our current situation. From now on, you will be the king of the Kingdom of Women, and I will be its queen. Tan Xinxin turned around and settled into Yang Fan's lap, emphasizing her status. All right. You are my queen, but you are my second queen. Before you, I already had another queen. As the king of the Kingdom of Women, the women Yang Fan possessed would naturally be his queens. He had no objection to that arrangement. The situation outside had changed, and so had his status. There was no longer any reason to hide the fact that he had multiple women. By bringing it up now, he could also avoid unnecessary conflicts later. I know you were a married man. That is fine. Then I will be your second queen. As the property manager of Guangming Residential Complex, Tan Xinxin had seen Yang Fan and his former wife, Wu Qian, entering and leaving the complex together on more than one occasion. She had even heard that Yang Fan was a devoted husband who loved his wife dearly. Seeing that Tan Xinxin had mistaken his former wife Wu Qian for his first queen, Yang Fan smiled and shook his head. The first queen I was referring to is not Wu Qian. We are already divorced. My first queen is Zhang Nan, Wu Qian's best friend. It does not matter who it is. As long as I am your second queen, that is enough. Tan Xinxin did not care who the first queen was. What mattered to her was her position in Yang Fan's heart, because that would determine her status in the future. Yang Fan understood what she meant from her words, and he also understood why the second woman was still called a queen. That way, everyone's status would be equal, with only the order being different. If everyone held the same rank, there would be no need for vicious struggles in the future. Now that you are our king, the place where you live cannot be too modest. I have already found the perfect residence for you. Come with me. Tan Xinxin took Yang Fan's hand and led him to the most expensive residence in Guangming Residential Complex. The owner of that residence was an exceptionally beautiful young heiress. Guangming Residential Complex itself was a very ordinary residential community. It had only recently been built, with brand new apartment buildings and excellent landscaping. The reason the wealthy young woman had chosen to live there was actually because it was convenient for pursuing the man she liked. The man she had fallen for worked at a nearby company. Although she had purchased a fairly standard apartment building, the interior had been decorated with extraordinary luxury. Her father had purchased the entire top 2 floors and transformed them into something resembling a luxurious private villa. Now that every man in the world had disappeared, both her father and her older brother were gone as well. Once arrogant and domineering, she had suddenly lost the people who had protected her throughout her life. She immediately found herself facing obstacles everywhere, and no one was willing to indulge her anymore. Just yesterday, she had gone to the restaurant where she often ate. A minor disagreement had escalated into a conflict with one of the waitresses. Knowing that her father and older brother had disappeared and that no one was left to protect her, several waitresses no longer tolerated her as they once had, and the confrontation became physical. Even now, a bright red handprint remained on her face. It was precisely because she had lost the people who could protect her that she was willing to offer her luxurious home as Yang Fan's residence. Such a thing would have been absolutely impossible in the past. Following Tan Qinshin, Yang Fan entered the most expensive residence in the residential complex. The lavish interior decoration immediately left him astonished. He could not help sighing. His imagination had never been sufficient to picture how the wealthy truly lived. At that moment, sitting on the sofa inside the luxurious home was the wealthy young heiress, looking deeply aggrieved. She was extremely unwilling to let someone else live in her home, but she had no other choice. Seeing the heiress sitting there with such a wronged expression, Tan Qinshin quickly walked over and said, "One, you already know what the situation outside is like. No one is left to protect you anymore. In the current situation, everyone has to fight for their own position. If you want to continue living well and avoid being bullied, he is the person you need to rely on." Tan Qinshin turned and glanced at Yang Fan, who was looking around the living room. Li Wenwen followed her gaze and looked at Yang Fan. She found him rather handsome, but the inexpensive clothes he was wearing immediately lowered her impression of him. Deep down, Li Wenwen was still extremely unwilling. However, reality had taught her a harsh lesson the previous day, and she knew she had no other choice. Seeing that Li Wenwen remained silent, Tan Qinshin continued, "Remember this. He is the only man left in this world. If you want to preserve the life you have now, you must treat him as the master of this house. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you. Our organization already has a name. It is now called the Kingdom of Women, and he is the king." If Li Wenwen had heard such words in the past, she would undoubtedly have laughed. But now she could not laugh. She knew that everything being said was real, not some ridiculous joke. Your Majesty, hello." To preserve the comfortable life she enjoyed, Li Wenwen could only bow to reality. She stood up from the sofa and greeted Yang Fan. After all, she had no desire to go out and work like ordinary people. She simply had no ability to hold a job. Yang Fan nodded and carefully looked over the wealthy young heiress standing before him. Whether it was her appearance or her figure, she was absolutely stunning. Most striking of all was her flawless skin. It was as white as fresh snow, completely free of imperfections, as though she had been sculpted from milk itself. He truly is a woman who grew up pampered. She has taken excellent care of herself. Yang Fan looked Li Wenwen over and sighed inwardly. Noticing the way Yang Fan looked at her as though she were prey, Li Wenwen felt a surge of disgust. In her eyes, all men were the same, except for the man she had once loved. This house is not bad. It is just right to serve as my first royal palace. Yang Fan noticed the look of disgust on Li Wenwen's face, but paid it no attention. As far as he was concerned, she was already meat on the chopping block, and he could have her whenever he wished. However, considering that the many children, many blessings system required willing consent, Yang Fan had no intention of making a move on her for the time being. Instead, he focused his attention on the house. As his little kingdom continued to grow in the future, his residence would naturally become grander. This place was merely his first foothold. Hearing the man in front of her refer to her home as his royal palace, Li Wenwen's disgust reached its peak. Even so, thinking about her future, she ultimately restrained herself. Tan Qinshin was very perceptive. Noticing the disgust on Li Wenwen's face, she immediately leaned over and whispered, "Wenwen, I know you are very unhappy right now, but you also have to understand the situation. This is no longer the time when your father and brother could protect you. You must learn to fight for your own chance to survive in the current world. Then Tan Xin leaned closer to Li Wenwen's ear and whispered, "There is only one man left in the entire world. If you do not want to spend the rest of your life feeling lonely, you have to do everything you can to earn his affection. Otherwise, prepare yourself to live alone for the rest of your life." Tan Xin's words struck Li Wenwen like a bolt from the blue, leaving her frozen. She truly had never seriously considered that issue. From yesterday until now, she had been immersed in the grief of losing her father and brother. There was also the man she had loved deeply. Three of the most important people in her life had disappeared, leaving her without the courage to keep living. Although she lacked the courage to go on, she had never considered ending her life immediately. She is right. Yang Fan is now the only man left in the entire world. I no longer have any other choice. Li Wenwen finally realized it and felt that Tan Xin's words made perfect sense. No one would protect her anymore. If she wanted to continue enjoying the privileged life she once had, she would have to fight for it herself. Suppressing the resentment filling her heart, Li Wenwen adjusted her emotions and looked at Yang Fan once again. Suddenly, he seemed much more pleasing to her eyes. Fortunately, he is handsome. If he were ugly, I truly would not have the courage to win his favor. Li Wenwen comforted herself inwardly. "Your Majesty, do you drink? I have many bottles of rare and valuable wine here. You may enjoy any of them." Having accepted reality, Li Wenwen quickly began trying to earn Yang Fan's favor. She did not know whether her old life would ever return, but for now, she had to fight for every opportunity to secure a good future. Yang Fan looked at Li Wenwen in surprise. He had not expected her to accept reality so quickly and recover her composure. It seemed she was not the spoiled and useless rich girl he had imagined. Li Wenwen truly was different from those arrogant wealthy heirs who relied entirely on their families. Although she had grown up under the protection of her father and brother, she had attended many business functions and understood the importance of reading people and adapting to situations. Moreover, she personally managed several companies, all located in Yangcheng, where they now lived. Really? Where are they? The moment Yang Fan heard there was expensive wine, his eyes lit up. Back when he watched short videos online, he had often seen wealthy people drinking fine wine and showing off their collections of rare liquor and premium cigarettes. At the time, he had thought how unfair life could be. He had never imagined that one day he would get to taste those famous wines himself. Right this way. Li Wenwen smiled as she led Yang Fan to her family's private wine cellar. It was a separate room filled with all kinds of rare and valuable wines. There were wines favored by women, many varieties preferred by men, and even a number of limited collector's editions. So much fine wine. This is incredible. Just by looking at the packaging, Yang Fan could tell these bottles were extraordinarily expensive. "Your Majesty, please make yourself comfortable here. I will leave the two of you alone." Seeing that Li Wenwen had finally accepted reality and settled into her new role, Tan Xin felt relieved. "Wait a moment. Here are 100 yin-yang harmonizing pills and 100 constitution enhancement pills. Distribute them to the people who need them and establish a security team. Our territory cannot remain unprotected." Yang Fan handed the prepared yin-yang harmonizing pills and constitution enhancement pills to Tan Xin and quietly explained the effects of both medicines into her ear. After hearing the explanation, Tan Xin could not help blushing. Yang Fan continued, "Remember this. The women selected for the security team must either have ordinary appearances or be very unattractive. Assign the remaining jobs according to the same principle. As for the beautiful women, leave all of them for me." "I understand, Your Majesty." Tan Xin understood exactly what Yang Fan intended and nodded in agreement. "Oh, and one more thing. You handled both the royal palace and the wealthy heiress very well. I will reward you in the future." Yang Fan understood that Tan Xin had done all of this in order to secure a more important place in his heart and improve her chances of living well in this new world. Because of that, there were certain things that had to be said. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Tan Xin was overjoyed and felt that all of her efforts had finally been worthwhile. Returning to the wine cellar, Yang Fan immediately selected a bottle that looked especially appealing. Just as he was about to open it, Li Wenwen hurriedly stopped him. "Your Majesty, there is a proper way to serve these wines. Otherwise, both the flavor and their qualities will be affected. Some wines need to breathe beforehand, while others require preparation. Li Wanwen took the bottle from Yang Fan's hand, retrieved several utensils and various premium ingredients from a nearby cabinet, and skillfully began preparing the wine. Watching her intricate techniques, Yang Fan suddenly felt rather unsophisticated. "Your Majesty, the wine is ready. Please enjoy." Li Wanwen smiled as she presented him with a carefully prepared glass. At that moment, she felt like an imperial consort from ancient times, competing for the emperor's favor. "Let me taste it." Yang Fan accepted the glass and took a small sip. The rich, mellow flavor immediately impressed him. "Excellent wine. Truly excellent wine." He then finished the entire glass in one gulp and gave it the highest praise. "If your Majesty enjoys it so much, then I shall prepare several more glasses for you." Li Wanwen smiled beautifully, making her appear even more stunning. "My beloved consort, do not let me drink alone. Join me for a few glasses. But before we drink together, go put on that set of ancient robes." Hearing Li Wanwen repeatedly address him as "Your Majesty," Yang Fan could not help imagining himself as an emperor from ancient times. While looking through the wine cellar earlier, he had noticed several elegant sets of traditional clothing hanging in the dressing room next to it. He felt that with Li Wanwen's perfect figure, she would look especially beautiful in that traditional outfit, and it would also suit the way they were addressing each other now. "All right." Li Wanwen looked at the traditional outfit Yang Fan was pointing to and agreed without hesitation. She got up and went into the dressing room. Yang Fan waited quietly, unable to stop himself from imagining what Li Wanwen would look like after putting it on. Before long, Li Wanwen emerged from the dressing room in the traditional outfit. The moment Yang Fan saw her, his eyes went wide. Li Wanwen looked like someone who had stepped out of a painting, as beautiful as an immortal maiden. "Your Majesty, do you think I look beautiful in this outfit?" Li Wanwen felt a little embarrassed under Yang Fan's gaze, and a faint blush appeared on her face. Even so, she boldly showed herself off, turning in a circle as the fabric swirled around her. "Beautiful. Extremely beautiful. Even the four great beauties of ancient times could not compare to you." Unable to restrain himself, Yang Fan walked up to Li Wanwen and admired her from close range as he spoke. He was telling the truth. At that moment, Li Wanwen truly looked as beautiful as a celestial maiden. "As long as your Majesty likes it," Li Wanwen replied in a soft and gentle voice. Faced with such a breathtakingly beautiful woman, Yang Fan immediately lost all interest in drinking and transformed into a fierce tiger determined to conquer a towering peak. 2 hours later, Li Wanwen had completely accepted this world, and she had also completely accepted Yang Fan. All the resentment and disgust she had felt before had vanished without a trace. Now she felt that Yang Fan was simply the man destined for her, someone capable of giving her the kind of pleasure only a woman could experience. "Your Majesty, I am one of your queens now as well, am I not?" Li Wanwen also wanted to secure a place in Yang Fan's heart. "Yes, you are my third queen." Yang Fan held Li Wanwen tightly and acknowledged her position. "Since my body already belongs to your Majesty, then everything I possess belongs to you as well. I have several companies under my control, and I am willing to hand all of them over to you." Li Wanwen offered Yang Fan everything she owned, hoping to gain a more important place in his heart in return. "Really? Let us rest for a while first. We can visit your companies later." Naturally, Yang Fan wanted to take possession of the companies under Li Wanwen's control. Before that, however, he first needed to claim the rewards granted by the system. The moment he obtained Li Wanwen, the system had immediately sent him a notification. At the time, Yang Fan had been fully absorbed in what he was doing and had not spared any attention for the system message. "Congratulations, Master. You have obtained your third admirer. Rewards: 500 points, 1 manual for remote acupoint striking, and 10 mine detection devices." Remote acupoint striking. The martial arts manual I received this time is quite good. Yang Fan had always enjoyed martial arts dramas. He had greatly envied the experts who could strike acupoints from a distance, and now he would be able to do the same. Mine detection devices? What are those? Yang Fan immediately checked the instructions and discovered that the mine detection device was a tool used to probe people's thoughts. He only needed to place one of the devices in a concealed location, and it would detect the minds of every woman within a certain range, revealing all of their emotions and thoughts. A single mind detection device covered a radius of 1 kilometer. 10 such devices were enough to cover the entire city of Yanqing. These devices are excellent. With them, I can keep track of the movements and thoughts of every woman in the city in real time. Yang Fan was extremely satisfied with the rewards he had received this time. He then glanced at Li Wanwan in his arms. Seeing her perfect figure, he could not resist going through 2 more intense rounds with her. He did not stop until Li Wanwan had fallen asleep from exhaustion and his internal energy had risen to 500. While Li Wanwan slept, Yang Fan cultivated the primordial Taiji hand he had obtained earlier in the newly acquired remote acupoint striking. With his current aptitude, it did not take long for him to cultivate both techniques to the first level. As for the first manual he had obtained, the Supreme Yang Divine Art, he had also cultivated that technique to the first level. The Supreme Yang Divine Art did not require him to cultivate it deliberately. Every time he united with one of his admirers, it produced the effects of cultivation. After raising all 3 techniques to the first level, Yang Fan got up and walked to the window. Outside, it was already nighttime. I am the only man left in this world, yet the system has given me so many martial arts techniques. Who exactly does it expect me to fight? Yang Fan wondered inwardly. They were clearly not intended to deal with ordinary women. Those women were all normal people and possessed virtually no combat ability. Using such powerful techniques against them would be like firing a cannon at a mosquito. Besides, Yang Fan could not bear to harm them. At that moment, the door opened, and Tan Xinshin walked in carrying a meal box. "Your Majesty, it is time to eat." She placed the meal box on the table. When she saw Li Wanwan sleeping soundly on the floor, she immediately found a blanket and covered her with it. Yang Fan walked over to the dining table and began eating the dinner Tan Xinshin had prepared. Tan Xinshin was not only beautiful, but also an exceptional cook. After the meal, Yang Fan said to Tan Xinshin, "You should move in here from now on. Notify Zhang Nen as well. That way, I will not have to visit other buildings whenever I want to find either of you." "All right, I will go and tell Zhang Nen immediately." Tan Xinshin had long wished to live with Yang Fan every day, so she was overjoyed. While she was away, Yang Fan immediately placed the 10 newly obtained mind detection devices in 10 separate concealed locations. With that, the movements and thoughts of every woman in the city fell under Yang Fan's control. The city where Yang Fan lived had a total population of 21 million. All the men except him had disappeared, leaving fewer than 10 million women in the city. Among those 10 million women, fewer than 3,000 had joined Yang Fan's kingdom of women. There is still a long road ahead. It seems I need to move faster. Now that he had a clear understanding of the city's population, Yang Fan looked out the window and began searching for beautiful women. With so many people having suddenly vanished, the streets outside looked especially empty. Only a few scattered women were wandering around. Yang Fan was searching for his next target when he suddenly noticed several cars following him from behind. Inside the first car, a fierce-looking middle-aged woman with masculine features said to the ordinary-looking woman beside her, "Did you see clearly just now? Are you certain that was a man?" The ordinary-looking woman nodded vigorously. "I saw him clearly. He was definitely a man, and a handsome one at that. Damn it, we finally found a man. It seems men did not all disappear. They have simply become extremely rare. Listen carefully, all of you. No one is allowed to hurt that handsome man up ahead. Today, I am going to enjoy myself properly." A smug smile appeared on the masculine woman's face. Her car immediately accelerated. Together with several other vehicles, it overtook Yang Fan's car. 3 cars blocked the road in front of him, while the remaining 2 cut off his escape from behind. Yang Fan looked at the 5 cars surrounding him, all filled with women, and a smug smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. They cannot hold out after only 2 days? It seems I really have become highly sought after. Yang Fan sat in the car and quietly watched a group of women get out of the 3 cars in front of him. Most of them were ordinary women. The leader was a fierce-looking middle-aged woman. Among this group of women was a petite woman who looked quite beautiful. She looked timid and submissive, as if she was very afraid of the middle-aged woman leading them. "Come here and be my stool." The leading middle-aged woman got out of the car and coldly glanced at the petite woman. "Yes, The petite woman nodded. She did not dare disobey, so she obediently came over to the middle-aged woman, lay on the ground, and used herself as a stool. The middle-aged woman sat on the petite woman without any hesitation, then crossed her legs with an arrogant expression on her face. The petite woman was physically weak and seemed unable to bear the weight, but she kept gritting her teeth and enduring it. You few, go and drag that man out of the car. If he really is handsome, then he will belong only to me. If he is only average, I will reward you with him after I have had enough. The middle-aged woman said to several ordinary women beside her. Yes. The ordinary women nodded, then came to Yang Fan's car and reached out to open the door. When they saw that the person sitting inside really was a handsome man, greedy expressions appeared on all their faces. One of the ordinary women reached out to drag Yang Fan out of the car. Yang Fan casually pointed at them a few times. In an instant, the ordinary women froze and stopped moving, standing in place like ice sculptures. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and drag that man out of the car. When the middle-aged woman saw the ordinary women wasting time, she could not help urging them. But those ordinary women ignored her and continued standing completely still. Are you asking for a beating? How dare you disobey me? When the middle-aged woman saw that the ordinary women did not react, she became a little angry. Stop wasting your breath. They cannot move anymore. Yang Fan got out of the car. His gaze passed over the middle-aged woman and landed on the petite woman beneath her. A wave of anger immediately rose in his heart. Such a beautiful girl was being treated so badly by you. It was truly a waste of something precious. You are both ugly and annoying. Hurry up and get out of my way, Yang Fan coldly said to the middle-aged woman. The middle-aged woman examined Yang Fan as if she were examining prey. She did not care that Yang Fan had spoken rudely to her. He really is handsome. Although he is not especially handsome in the current environment, this is already very rare. What? You want to save this little beauty? I simply refuse to let her go. If you pity her and do not want her to suffer, you only need to satisfy a few of my conditions. The petite woman beneath her secretly turned her head to look at Yang Fan. A trace of excitement also appeared in her eyes. However, she knew that in the current environment, rare people like men were treasures. She would never have a chance to possess one. As for whether the man in front of her would save her, she did not dare hope for that at all. The middle-aged woman was already fierce, and there were also 7 or 8 helpers around her. Even though Yang Fan was a man, she did not believe he could rescue her from her suffering. I know what your conditions are, but I have no interest in an old and ugly woman like you. Yang Fan directly rejected the middle-aged woman's conditions. You dare call me old and ugly? You really do not know what is good for you. What are you fools standing there for? Hurry up and shove him into the car. I will personally deal with him later. The middle-aged woman was furious and decided to properly teach Yang Fan later. I already told you. They have been immobilized by me and cannot follow your orders. With a flash, Yang Fan instantly appeared in front of the middle-aged woman. He grabbed her shoulder and threw her away like a sack. The middle-aged woman's body, which weighed nearly 220 pounds, was thrown more than 33 feet away. She crashed into a distant wall before falling down. Are you all right? Yang Fan helped the petite woman, who was still lying on the ground, to her feet and noticed several red slap marks on her face. Were all these marks caused by that woman? Yang Fan looked at the slap marks on the petite woman's face and felt a burst of heartache. In the current environment, all beautiful women were his treasures. He would not allow anyone to hurt his treasures. The petite woman nodded. She fearfully glanced at the middle-aged woman, then quickly shook her head again. Do not worry. As long as I am here, that woman will never be able to hurt you again. Yang Fan stared at the petite woman and promised her. This petite woman was not very tall. She looked a little like the small potatoes unique to the South. Although she was not tall, she was extremely beautiful, and her figure was also quite perfect. At this moment, the middle-aged woman Yang Fan had thrown away finally recovered. Her entire body felt as if it had fallen apart from the pain, and she could not move at all. You people sitting in the cars behind, are you blind? Hurry up and come help me. While you are at it, beat that brat to death. The middle-aged woman no longer relied on the ordinary women standing motionless. She shouted at the women inside the 2 cars behind her. The women sitting inside the two cars did not dare get out at all. They had just seen the women who tried to open Yang Fan's car door mysteriously become immobilized. Even the vicious middle-aged woman had been seriously injured. They did not have the courage to get out of the cars. They were afraid they would suffer the same fate. What should we do? If we do not help the boss, we will definitely be punished later. But that man is too powerful. Even if we go down there, we will be useless. One of the women asked the woman driving the car. Then we will not get out. At worst, we will leave this city. Maybe there are still 1 or 2 men in another city. We can go and try our luck. The woman driving immediately reversed the car and turned it around, preparing to escape. The women in the other car had the same idea. They immediately turned around and prepared to flee. You want to leave? No chance. Yang Fan immediately pointed several times through the air toward the two cars. In an instant, all the women inside the two cars were immobilized, and the cars also stalled. Although Yang Fan was not interested in those ordinary women, in the current environment, many necessary jobs required people to do them. That was why he did not let them leave. After finishing all this, Yang Fan called his public security unit. Soon, 6 or 7 heroic-looking women arrived. After taking Yang Fan's physique enhancement pills, each of their combat abilities had increased greatly. Any one of them could fight more than 10 ordinary women with her bare hands, even if those women were holding weapons. Find a place to lock up these ordinary women. Give them 3 meals a day. The food does not need to be good. Ordinary meals are enough. Lock them up for 1 month first. Lock up the ugliest woman over there for 3 months as punishment. While they are locked up, do not let them sit around doing nothing. Give them some work. After all, this is exactly when we need people. Yang Fan said to several female members of the public security team. Yes, Your Majesty. The female team members answered, then took away the middle-aged woman and the ordinary women. Your Majesty? The petite woman, Wang Qing, looked at Yang Fan in surprise. Yes. Do you see the streets ahead? All the residential communities and storefronts here belong to me. I am the king of this place, and the country I established is the kingdom of women. My steps will not stop here. In the future, the entire city, and even the whole world, will become territory of the kingdom of women, and I will be its king. Yang Fan spoke with great pride. If this had happened before, Wang Qing would definitely have thought Yang Fan was crazy. But in the current situation, after thinking about the strength Yang Fan had just shown, she believed that day would definitely come. Well, are you willing to join my kingdom of women? Yang Fan invited Wang Qing. I am willing. After what had just happened, Wang Qing knew that a new order had already been established in Yang Fan's territory. If she did not want to be bullied again in the future, she had to rely on Yang Fan, so she agreed without hesitation. Good. Now I will take you back to my palace. Yang Fan took Wang Qing by the hand, brought her into his car, and drove toward Guangming residential community. On the way, Wang Qing told Yang Fan how the middle-aged woman had bullied her. She was from the south, and the city where she lived was very close to the sea. She and her older brother worked in Yanqing City, where she was the manager of a buffet restaurant. The restaurant had been opened by her brother. Her brother owned several buffet restaurants in the city. The middle-aged woman and the ordinary women from earlier were employees at one of those restaurants. The middle-aged woman worked in the kitchen. Some of the ordinary women were servers, while others were cleaners responsible for sanitation. Originally, everyone had lived peacefully together. Then all the men in the world suddenly disappeared, and Wang Qing's brother and all the other male employees vanished as well. When the middle-aged woman saw that the restaurant no longer had an owner and only Wang Qing, a young female manager, was left, she immediately rose up and trampled Wang Qing under her feet. She had disliked Wang Qing for a long time. Wang Qing had become a manager at such a young age. Because she was beautiful, she was very popular, even more popular than the older employee who had worked hard at the restaurant for several years. The middle-aged woman complained that fate was unfair. Her heart was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. With such feelings, Wang Qing, who was prettier and more popular than her, naturally became the person she hated most. After Wang Qing lost her brother's protection, she immediately became powerless to resist. She had originally thought that her life was over and that she might never escape the middle-aged woman's control. After all, There was no longer anyone to protect her. That was until she met Yang Fan. With Yang Fan, she felt the same sense of protection that she had once felt from her brother. She immediately made up her mind that no matter what happened, she would stay beside Yang Fan. Only this way could she live with dignity in the current situation. Soon, Yang Fan brought Wang Qing to the door of the most expensive home in Guangming residential community. When he opened the door, Yang Fan saw Zhang Nan, Tan Qin, and Li Wanwen sitting on the living room sofa, chatting and laughing together. They were getting along very well. When the three women saw Yang Fan return, they immediately stood up from the sofa together and said with smiles, "Welcome back to the palace, Your Majesty." "My three queens, there is no need for formalities." Yang Fan looked at the three beautiful women, each with her own charm, and felt very satisfied. Wang Qing was shocked by the scene before her. She felt as though she had traveled into another world. Thinking carefully about it, all the men outside had disappeared, so it really did feel like traveling into another world. "You three may do whatever you like. Tonight, I will spend the night with the new queen." Yang Fan wrapped an arm around Wang Qing's shoulders and went upstairs to the bedroom with her. Yes, Zhang Nan, Tan Qin, and Li Wanwen had no objections. They all knew that since Yang Fan was the only man left in the world, it was impossible for him to have only the three of them. Yang Fan had already swept away all of their loneliness and emptiness before. Now they felt as if they had eaten their fill and were no longer hungry. After all, every time Yang Fan spent time with them, it lasted several hours and left their whole bodies feeling as if they were falling apart. Now was a good time for them to rest. The three women sat back down on the sofa and continued chatting and laughing. Li Wanwen also took out her snacks and shared them with Zhang Nan and Tan Qin. Wang Qing followed Yang Fan upstairs. In her heart, she already knew what she was about to face. Looking at the only man left in the world beside her, Wang Qing felt no resistance at all. After all, he was a man countless women dreamed of but could never have. As time passed, this situation would only become more intense. Before all this, even if she had been beaten to death, she would never have gone this far so quickly with a man she had just met. But in the current situation, everything felt natural and even extremely precious. Yang Fan looked at the three bedrooms in front of him and directly opened the door to the room on the left. He discovered that it was Li Wanwen's room. It was filled with the feeling of a young woman's presence. The room also had a private bathroom. Inside, a person could both shower and soak in a bathtub. The space was unbelievably large. "Go inside and wash the dust off your body," Yang Fan said as he opened the bathroom door. Wang Qing nodded and obediently entered the bathroom. Her clothes were dirty, and many parts had also been torn. This was all because of that middle-aged woman. Before long, Wang Qing washed the dust from her body, made herself smell nice, and put on Li Wanwen's bathrobe. Because she was shorter, the bathrobe almost completely wrapped around her. Even so, it still could not hide her perfect figure. "Why, Your Majesty, I have finished washing." This was the first time Wang Qing had addressed someone this way, so it felt a little awkward. When Yang Fan saw Wang Qing like this, he could no longer hold himself back. He directly walked over, pushed her into the bathroom, and casually closed the door. The next morning, fully dressed, Yang Fan turned to Wang Qing and said, "If you cannot get up, I will have them bring breakfast to your room." Wang Qing nodded at Yang Fan with great satisfaction. The two of them had stayed busy until very late the previous night before finally resting. After experiencing a man for the first time, Wang Qing had found it a little difficult to endure. At this moment, she was already unable to go out for breakfast. As Yang Fan walked outside, he checked the notification the system had given him the day before. "Congratulations, Master, on gaining your fourth admirer. Reward, 500 points, 1 long-distance slapping skill, and 100 yin-yang breathing regulation pills." Long-distance slapping. This skill is pretty good. In the future, I can try it when I meet a difficult woman. Yang Fan sensed it and discovered that the skill required no training. It was already at its maximum level from the moment he received it, and it had now become one of his abilities. After checking the rewards he had received yesterday, Yang Fan went downstairs to the dining room for breakfast. Qin, Xiaoqing is feeling a little unwell and cannot come downstairs for breakfast. Take a serving of breakfast up to her. Yang Fan said as he came to the dining table. After hearing his words, the three women all understood what he meant by feeling unwell. After all three of them had experienced it. Okay. Tan Qinshin nodded, immediately prepared a serving of food, and went upstairs. After the meal, Tan Qinshin said to Yang Fan, "Your Majesty, I will now report the situation in the Kingdom of Women to you. After recruiting people throughout yesterday, the population of the Kingdom of Women has now reached more than 30,000. We expect even more people to apply to join us today. According to your instructions, we also counted the food yesterday. As more and more women join us, our food will soon not be enough to distribute. The vegetable farmers and meat factories that previously supplied the city now have many vacant jobs because they lost a large number of men. I have already done my best to fill those positions, but it is still far from enough." After hearing Tan Qinshin's report, Yang Fan understood that what their Kingdom of Women needed most now was grain, vegetables, and meat. The most urgent matter now was dealing with those suppliers, and most of those suppliers were in the suburbs and rural areas. "I understand. Today I will go to the rural areas and suburbs. Bring several key members with you and come with me. We cannot focus only on the city. The countryside is our rear base, and all our supplies must be provided by the countryside. So we must also get the women in the nearby villages to join our Kingdom of Women and solve the food problem. That way, even if more women join us in the future, we will not need to worry." Yang Fan said to Tan Qinshin. After deciding the direction of their next work, Yang Fan and Tan Qinshin went out. Tan Qinshin called more than 10 key members and told each of them to go to a different village. They were responsible for recruiting the rural women and solving the logistical problems. In fact, the food shortage in the city was not very serious. Most women ate very little in order to maintain their figures. Only a small number of women did not care about their appearance and ate and drank as they pleased. The villages Tan Qinshin assigned to those key members were all relatively important places. Some were responsible for supplying vegetables, some were responsible for supplying meat, and others were responsible for supplying other daily necessities. After all the work had been arranged, Tan Qinshin asked Yang Fan, "Your Majesty, where are we going today?" "We are going to East Lake Park." Yang Fan knew that Tan Qinshin's question had another meaning. Today, he had originally planned to take Tan Qinshin and several key members around the suburbs, then arrange the specific work afterward. But Tan Qinshin was much more careful than he was. She had arranged the work in advance and sent more than 10 key members out first. Tan Qinshin's intention in doing this was naturally to spend time alone with Yang Fan. Yang Fan understood her feelings and immediately chose a suitable place. East Lake Park in Yanqing City was located on the eastern side of the city. The scenery there was beautiful, and it was usually a good place for many people to relax. In the past, many men fished by the lake. Now that those men had disappeared, the entire park suddenly felt much more empty. Only a few young women were walking through the park. Yang Fan and Tan Qinshin went to the top of the tallest building in the center of East Lake Park. From there, they could overlook the entire Yanqing City and take in all the beautiful scenery around them. Doing things in a place like this was a great pleasure for both the body and mind. Directly in front of the tallest building was a small artificial mountain, and beneath it was a small waterfall. There were many strangely shaped rocks beside the waterfall. At this moment, a fair-skinned, graceful, long-haired beauty was sitting on one of the rocks. "Older sister, you seem unhappy. Is something troubling you?" Another long-haired beauty who looked exactly the same as her came out of the nearby restroom. The two of them were twins. The unhappy one was the older sister, Li Shuiping, while the one who came out of the restroom was the younger sister, Li Shuiqing. Although they were twins, their personalities were completely different. Li Shuiping was introverted and somewhat sentimental. Li Shuiqing was innocent, cheerful, outgoing, and lively. She looked happy every day. "No, it is getting late. Let us go to the hospital," Li Shuiping said as she stood up from the rock. "Okay." Li Shuiqing nodded and followed beside her older sister. The two of them walked together toward the park exit. When they passed below the tallest building, both of them heard a strange sound. Although they were still young, they knew what that sound was. Their faces instantly turned red. Feeling embarrassed, they quickened their steps and wanted to leave quickly. "Wait, there is a man's voice." Li Shuiping suddenly stopped and said with great surprise. A man's voice? Older sister, have you gone crazy from missing men? All the men in the world have disappeared. How could there possibly be a man? Li Shuiqing could not help laughing. Today was the third day since the men disappeared. During the previous 2 days, every man they knew had disappeared, including their relatives, co-workers, and classmates. Because of this, they had contacted many people and discovered that none of the men could be reached. Only women could be contacted. Because of this, they concluded that all the men in the world had disappeared. I am not mistaken. It really is a man's voice. You can still hear it now. Listen for yourself if you do not believe me. Li Shuiping insisted that she had not heard wrong. Li Shuiqing became quiet and listened carefully. She discovered that there really was a man's voice. The sound was coming from directly above their heads. They both looked toward the building beside them. This building was a landmark of East Lake Park, and the landmark itself had been built on top of a small hill. In addition, the landmark was 10 stories tall, allowing people at the top to overlook all the beautiful scenery around it. Could it be that not all the men in the world disappeared? Li Shuiping listened to the man's voice coming from above and could not help forming this guess. To confirm this guess, we can only go up and see it with our own eyes. Li Shuiqing suggested. Would that not be inappropriate? Li Shuiping felt embarrassed and thought doing that would be very improper. What if there really was a couple doing something up there? Would they not ruin the couple's good time by going up now? What is there to be afraid of? At worst, we will not show ourselves. We will quietly look from below, confirm that it really is a man, and then leave. That would not count as disturbing them. Li Shuiqing became curious and very much wanted to go up and take a look. After all the men in the world had disappeared, and now a man had suddenly appeared. It made her somewhat unable to control her emotions. All right. Li Shuiping also very much wanted to go up and see whether there really were still men in the world. If there really was a man up there, she wanted to use this chance to understand why the men had disappeared. Perhaps she could even find the missing relatives and the person she liked because of it. The two looked at each other, gathered their courage, and entered the building beside them. The two sisters, Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing, followed the stairs upward. To avoid alerting the people upstairs, they were very careful. They tried not to make any sound, and their footsteps were very light. Before long, they reached the 9th floor. They only needed to climb a few more steps before they could see the two people on the 10th floor from the staircase. 2 hours had already passed. Yang Fan had finished the battle and stood refreshed beside the railing, staring at the beautiful scenery around him. Because he had previously taken the physique transformation liquid, Yang Fan heard the faint footsteps coming from downstairs. He knew someone was coming up, but since the person coming was a woman, he did not care. At this moment, he glanced toward the staircase. 2 heads appeared there. They belonged to the exceptionally beautiful sisters, Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing. What beautiful twins. My luck is pretty good today. I actually met 2 beauties. It really is a man. There is actually a man here. Li Shuiping looked up the stairs and saw Yang Fan standing beside the railing. She could hardly believe her eyes. It really is a man, and he is handsome too. Li Shuiqing also saw Yang Fan on the rooftop, and her eyes immediately lit up. You two can come up. Stop hiding over there. Yang Fan turned around and looked toward the staircase. Did someone come? After learning that someone had arrived, Tan Qinshin quickly straightened her clothes and obediently stood beside Yang Fan. When Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing realized they had been discovered, they had no choice but to follow the stairs to the top floor. Sorry, we did not mean to interrupt your good time. I just really wanted to know where all the missing men went. Li Shuiping said to Yang Fan with an apologetic expression. That is right. Among the missing men are our relatives and someone my sister likes, so that is why she is so anxious. Li Shuiqing directly pushed all the responsibility for secretly coming up onto her older sister and acted innocent herself. After hearing her words, Li Shuiping immediately glared at her. Li Shuiqing pretended not to see her sister's eyes and turned her head to look elsewhere. I do not care why you two came up. You ruined my good time, so do not think you can leave so easily. Yang Fan used this matter as an excuse to trap the 2 beauties. Hey, you should at least be reasonable. How did we ruin your good time? Had you not already finished? We did not see anything. Li Shuiqing spread her hands and spoke with an innocent expression. I do not care. In any case, unless you two give me an explanation, do not think you can leave so easily today. Yang Fan examined the beautiful twins in front of him. He discovered that they were still young and seemed to have just turned 18. They were at the age when young women were growing into graceful beauties, and their whole bodies gave off youthful energy. Are you from Yanqing City? You also know about the current situation outside. If you want to live safely, you can join our Kingdom of Women. Tan Xinshin saw that Yang Fan had taken an interest in the two women, so she wisely tried to persuade them to join. Kingdom of Women? Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing had heard about the Kingdom of Women. At this moment, their mother was receiving treatment at a hospital inside the Kingdom of Women's territory. All the other hospitals in the city were nearly paralyzed. Only the hospitals inside the Kingdom of Women's territory were still operating normally. Yes, you can think about it. Tan Xinshin smiled at the two of them. We also want to join the Kingdom of Women, but we do not live in the city. We live in the countryside. Li Shuiping spoke with some regret. That is right. We live at Fumin Breeding Farm in Xiaoqiao Village. That farm was opened by our family, but unfortunately, someone has taken it from us now. Our mother became so angry because of it that she was hospitalized. Li Shuiqing spoke with a dejected expression. You two are from Xiaoqiao Village? Fumin Breeding Farm belongs to your family. Yang Fan looked at the sisters, Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing, in surprise and realized that they looked somewhat familiar. After hearing where they lived, Yang Fan quickly understood who they were. Fumin Breeding Farm had been built entirely by Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing's father, Li Fumin. The farm had been established a very long time ago. Yang Fan remembered that it already existed when he was in elementary school. He had only seen Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing when they were children. After their family became the richest family in the village, they were sent away to study and rarely came back. Because of this, Yang Fan had not recognized Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing earlier. Yes, what is wrong? Li Shuiping looked at Yang Fan in confusion, not knowing what he meant. Girls really change greatly as they grow up, becoming more and more beautiful. I did not expect you two to become so beautiful. You may not know me, but I know you. I am actually from Xiaoqiao Village too. Yang Fan smiled at Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing. Yang Fan then told them where his old home was located in Xiaoqiao Village and where he had seen them before. So you are an older brother from our village. What a coincidence today, Li Shuiping said with a slight smile. You are now the only man left in the entire city. You must have been living very happily these past few days. Li Shuiqing glanced at Tan Xinshin beside Yang Fan. I have indeed been very happy, but if you two are also willing to join, I will be even happier. Yang Fan did not expect Li Shuiqing, who was several years younger than him, to dare make such a joke, so he stopped being polite. After hearing his words, Li Shuiqing acted as though she did not care, but Li Shuiping was still thinking about the man she liked. By the way, I heard you say that someone has taken your family's farm. What exactly happened? Tan Xinshin felt that if they could take control of the breeding farm, then the Kingdom of Women would have even less reason to worry about food. It is all because of those villagers. They are all ungrateful wolves. They completely forgot who led them to become rich and allowed them to live good lives. Li Shuiqing said angrily. Fumin Breeding Farm was the largest meat production farm in the entire Yanqing city. It covered more land than an entire village. It not only raised chickens, ducks, geese, and other poultry, but also more than 1,000 pigs. After the men suddenly disappeared, the farm no longer had an owner. Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing's mother could not control such a large family business by herself, and the villagers who wanted their property set their sights on it. The women in the village gathered together and jointly occupied their farm. Their mother became so angry that she was hospitalized. Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing were only two young women and had no way to deal with it. They could only stay with their mother while she received treatment in the city. That is terrible. How could they do such a thing? Tan Xinshin said angrily. Such a large farm must have provided jobs to local people, helped them become wealthy, and given them stable incomes. Now that the world was nearly paralyzed, those people had actually forgotten the kindness they had received and occupied someone else's property. It was truly hateful. Do not worry. I will definitely handle this matter. I will help you take back your farm. Yang Fan also realized what Fumin Breeding Farm meant to their Kingdom of Women. He had to take back that farm. He was doing this not only for the kingdom of women, but also for Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing. Forget it. We are very grateful that you are willing to help. But they have many people, and some of the women there have practiced martial arts. They are very skilled. Li Shuiqing shook her head. She did not believe Yang Fan could help them take back the farm. They are just a few women who know martial arts. It will be easy. Yang Fan did not take those women who knew martial arts seriously at all. With his current martial arts skills, dealing with dozens of men who knew martial arts would not be a problem, much less women. Stop bragging. I know you want to show off in front of us, sisters, but you should know when to do it. If you go to Xiaoqiao village now, given the current situation there, those women who know martial arts would not even need to act. The fierce middle-aged women alone could drain you dry. Li Shuiqing mistakenly thought Yang Fan wanted to show off in front of them. You are still young, but you know quite a lot. You even know about being drained dry. Yang Fan looked at the two beauties in front of him and felt that their personalities were completely different. What age do you think this is? Do you think I am one of those ignorant women from ancient times? Li Shuiqing said with a disdainful expression. Seeing Li Shuiqing's disdainful expression made Yang Fan even more determined to win them over. Little girl, do not look down on people. Today, I will show you how powerful the king of the kingdom of women is. Yang Fan walked toward the stairs, preparing to leave for Xiaoqiao village. Your Majesty, should I call the public security team? It is too dangerous for you to go alone. Tan Xinxin also felt that it was too risky. Do not worry. If I say it will be fine, then it will be fine. Yang Fan walked up to the sisters, Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing, placed his hands directly on their shoulders, and held them as they walked downstairs. Li Shuiping resisted a little. At this moment, her heart still belonged to a man she could never have. Li Shuiqing did not seem to care and looked very casual. Tan Xinxin was worried, so she quickly followed them downstairs. Xiaoqiao village. Fumin breeding farm. At this moment, the owner of this place had already become Yang Yun, a villager from Xiaoqiao village. Yin Yin, I seized this breeding farm for you. I will leave the matter of how to run it to you, Yang Yun's mother said with a proud expression. Now she felt as if she were dreaming. Such a large breeding farm belonged to them. Before this, she would not even have dared to imagine it. Mom, taking over the breeding farm was already enough. Why did you also drive away Li Shuiping, Li Shuiqing, and their mother? Yang Yun was a conscientious young woman and did not want to go too far. Now that the world had lost order, food had become extremely precious. They had done this so they would not go hungry in the future. You foolish child, you cannot be soft-hearted. If I had not driven away the mother and her two daughters, the people who supported them before might have become obstacles for us. Then this breeding farm would no longer belong to us. Yang Yun's mother complained that Yang Yun could not understand the risks involved. But I still think this was too heartless. If you go too far in everything, you will face punishment in the future. It was not that Yang Yun did not want the breeding farm. She simply did not want to take things too far. Do not concern yourself with these things. Just focus on being the farm director. As long as we do not go hungry, that is enough. Yang Yun's mother waved her hand and did not want to continue discussing the matter with her. Tan Xinxin drove quickly and soon arrived at Xiaoqiao village. Yang Fan and the sisters, Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing, were all sitting in the back seat. Li Shuiqing looked speechlessly at Yang Fan, who was sitting between them, and said, "The front passenger seat is empty. Why do you refuse to sit there and insist on squeezing into the back with us? I am the king, a person of status. How could I sit in the front passenger seat? Sitting in the back suits my status better." Yang Fan had a smiling expression as he rested his hands on Li Shuiping's and Li Shuiqing's shoulders. At that moment, the system's voice suddenly sounded in Yang Fan's mind. "Get out of the car quickly. Your enemy is coming. Lead him to an empty place, then kill him." This was the first time the system had actively spoken to Yang Fan since he obtained it. An enemy? Has the person you want me to deal with finally appeared? Yang Fan had always believed that the techniques rewarded to him by the system had another purpose. Now it was finally time to use them. "Stop the car," Yang Fan ordered Tan Xinxin, who was driving. Screech. Tan Xinxin immediately stepped on the brakes and stopped the car at the village entrance. Without saying another word, Yang Fan climbed over Li Shuiqing beside him, opened the car door, got out, and ran along a small path toward the back of the village. Where is he going? Li Shuiping asked as she watched Yang Fan suddenly leave. Where else could he be going? He must be afraid. I already knew that what he said earlier was only so he could take advantage of the two of us. Now that he has taken enough advantage, of course he is running away. Li Shuiqing said disdainfully. You are not allowed to speak about the king like that. He is not that kind of person. Tan Xinxin immediately turned around and angrily spoke to Li Shuiqing. Yang Fan had already become the person she relied on most. She would not allow anyone to speak badly about him. If he is not running away, then tell me what he is doing now. Li Shuiqing asked Tan Xinxin. Everyone has urgent needs. He must have gone to relieve himself, Tan Xinxin said without much confidence. They were about to face more than 100 fierce women. Although Yang Fan was a man, 2 fists could not fight 4 hands, much less so many hands. Under such circumstances, running away was only natural. Yang Fan followed the small path beside the village all the way to the back. He looked around, confirmed that no one was there, and chose this place as the location for the duel. I wonder what kind of person my enemy will be. Are the missing men also connected to them? Yang Fan thought to himself. There is actually another man here. Just as Yang Fan was wondering what kind of enemy he would face, a surprised male voice suddenly came from behind him. Yang Fan instinctively turned around and saw a muscular man floating behind him. He did not know when the muscular man had arrived. He had not made any sound. He wore armor that did not come from earth. His arms were crossed over his chest, and his feet floated in the air. He looked down at Yang Fan as if he were looking at an ant. Who are you? Are you connected to the men who disappeared earlier? Yang Fan heard a hidden meaning in the muscular man's words and could not help asking him. Human from a low-level planet, you are not qualified to ask me questions. Since there is still one fish that escaped the net here, I will simply take you away. The muscular man suddenly extended his right hand and released a cloud of black mist. The black mist quickly wrapped around Yang Fan, but immediately afterward, it disappeared. Ichem, there is a power inside your body that does not belong to Earth. A surprised expression appeared on the muscular man's face, and then he became much more serious. He took out a pair of highly advanced-looking glasses, put them on, and examined Yang Fan. You really do have power that does not belong to Earth. Unfortunately, your combat power is only 7. You are so weak that you are not even as strong as an ant. While the muscular man was looking down on him, Yang Fan attacked first. He directly slapped him through the air. With a loud smack, a powerful slap landed on the muscular man's face. You dare slap my face? You are asking to die. The muscular man did not expect an ant-like earthling such as Yang Fan to dare slap his face. He immediately became extremely furious and swung his huge fist at Yang Fan. The muscular man's fist created a strong gust of wind and carried enormous power. Yang Fan quickly gathered all the internal energy in his body and raised both arms in front of his chest, preparing to block the attack. Bang! The muscular man's fist struck Yang Fan's arms heavily. All the internal energy Yang Fan had gathered was shattered, but most of the force behind the muscular man's attack was also removed. The remaining force sent Yang Fan sliding backward across the ground for more than 30 feet. Yang Fan felt some numbness in both arms and was deeply shocked by the muscular man's strength. You were actually able to withstand my full power attack. It seems the power inside you is not ordinary. When the muscular man saw that Yang Fan had not only endured his full power attack, but was also completely unharmed, he was greatly shocked. System, the techniques you gave me are not very practical. This guy is clearly stronger than me. Are you not sending me to my death? Yang Fan thought about the techniques he had recently received. The Supreme Yang Divine technique seemed to work only on women, and only while doing that kind of thing. The primordial Tai Chi hands seemed to be a supporting technique for the Supreme Yang Divine technique. While doing that kind of thing, its skillful hand techniques could make women feel even more pleasure. The long-distance acupoint striking technique was somewhat useful. However, this technique could only immobilize an opponent and had no killing power. Once the opponent broke through the blocked acupoints and regained the ability to move, Yang Fan would still be unable to do anything. The system gave Yang Fan an idea. There was also the long-distance slapping technique he had just received. This move could only anger the opponent and could not kill them. All right, Everything depends on this one attack. You are simply too slow. It is already the third day, yet you have only gained 4 admirers. There are still many powerful techniques that you have not received. But do not panic. Combine your remaining internal energy with the Supreme Yang Divine technique. Focus all your power into one point, and take advantage of the fact that your opponent does not take you seriously. Punch him directly in the heart. Yang Fan felt that there was no other choice, so he immediately followed the system's instructions. He gathered the remaining internal energy inside his body and concentrated it into his right fist. Then he combined it with the Supreme Yang Divine technique and brought its power to the maximum. You ain't die. The muscular man did not take the power Yang Fan had gathered seriously at all. He once again swung his huge fist at him. You are the one who will die. Yang Fan prepared himself and pushed hard against the ground with his feet. The ground instantly cracked, and his entire body shot forward like a cannonball. Bang! Yang Fan swung his right fist directly through the muscular man's body, then landed on the ground ahead while breathing slightly heavily. The muscular man fell from the air. His face was filled with disbelief, and his right fist was still raised in the air. I actually died at the hands of an ant. Boom! After saying this, the muscular man's body exploded, turning into countless particles of dust that disappeared into the air. So this is how the Supreme Yang Divine technique is used. Its power is not bad. Yang Fan looked at his right fist and spoke with great satisfaction. That man was only a scout from the planet Mephiston. He belonged to their lowest class of warriors. The truly powerful ones have not appeared yet. You need to strengthen yourself as quickly as possible. Otherwise, when the true experts arrive, you will be the one who dies. The system warned him. Planet Mephiston? This was the first time Yang Fan had heard of a planet beyond his knowledge. Yes, the men from your planet were captured by the people of Mephiston. They have all become their slaves and are being forced to do every dirty and exhausting job for them. That is only the first step. Their second step is to take control of your planet and turn it into the granary they need. The system revealed the reason the men had disappeared and the plan of the people of Mephiston. A granary? Is it because Earth is suitable for growing food? Yang Fan gradually understood what the people of Mephiston wanted. Yes, they have chosen several planets in total. The planet you live on is only one of them. Next, an army will arrive. Many of them are powerful experts who can destroy an entire planet with one punch. You need to prepare yourself. The system warned Yang Fan again. Understood. After realizing how dangerous his situation would become, Yang Fan stopped wasting time and immediately walked toward the village entrance. After returning to the car, Yang Fan directly said to Tan Qin, "Drive. Go to Fumin Breeding Farm." To make Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing willingly become his admirers, Yang Fan had to take control of the breeding farm. From what the system had just said, Yang Fan gradually understood the entire plan of the people of Mephiston. The people of Mephiston were definitely carrying out a large plan in the universe. Perhaps they were currently invading planets with advanced civilizations. Earth was only a low-level planet suitable for growing food, so it had little value to them. Yang Fan had read many science fiction novels before. According to them, women from planets with advanced civilizations were even more beautiful, and every one of them looked like an angel. He decided that after he completely controlled Earth and gained even greater power, he would go and save the planets with advanced civilizations. Yang Fan sat silently in his seat, thinking about his future plans. Li Shuiqing saw that he was covered in sweat and looked as if he had just finished working at a construction site. She asked in confusion, "How did going to the bathroom leave you completely exhausted?" "Get lost." Yang Fan glared at her angrily. Fumin Breeding Farm. At this moment, a group of strong and fierce-looking women was patrolling the entrance. They were all holding clubs and had vicious expressions on their faces. When Tan Qin saw this, she turned to Yang Fan and said, "Should I call the public security team after all? There are too many of them, and they are all carrying weapons." "It is fine." Yang Fan got out of the car and walked directly toward the entrance of the breeding farm. "Your Majesty, I will go with you." Tan Qin was worried, so she quickly got out of the car as well. Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing looked at each other. Earlier, they had thought Yang Fan had run away, but they had not expected him to truly help them take back the breeding farm. The two of them felt that they could not remain hidden inside the car, so they both opened the doors and got out. Who are you? Outsiders are not allowed near this place. A man. Look, there is actually a man here. The fierce middle-aged women guarding the breeding farm immediately shouted to stop the approaching people. When they saw that the person was a man, they were all shocked and stared at Yang Fan as if he were a monkey in a zoo. Yang Fan did not even look at the middle-aged women. He casually waved his hands several times. Each of the middle-aged women was slapped across the face. They immediately saw stars and staggered to the ground. Yang Fan did not stop walking and headed directly into the breeding farm. Tan Xinshin had been a little worried, but after seeing Yang Fan easily deal with more than 10 middle-aged women, she immediately relaxed. When the sisters Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing saw how powerful Yang Fan was, they finally understood that he had not been bragging. Their breeding farm could be saved. Yang Fan fought his way to the farm director's office and dealt with every middle-aged woman who tried to stop him. Yang Yun and her mother came out of the office. When they saw people lying all over the ground, they were both stunned. They had never seen anyone so fierce. Young man from the Yang family, we have no grudge against you. Why did you injure my employees? When Yang Yun's mother saw that the person who had charged inside was a man, she was shocked at first, but then immediately began speaking politely. Do not try that with me. I know everything that happened here. This breeding farm does not belong to you at all. I came here today to deal with this matter. This breeding farm will now be returned to its rightful owners. Hurry up and get out, or you will end up like them. Yang Fan examined Yang Yun and her mother. When he saw the very beautiful Yang Yun, he placed her on his list as his next choice. Yang Yun was also from Xiaoqiao village. She had once gone on a blind date with Yang Fan. However, Yang Yun had just become an adult at that time and had very high standards, so she had not been interested in Yang Fan. Yang Yun's mother had even higher standards. She believed her daughter was the most beautiful young woman in the village and had to marry into a successful family in the future, so naturally, she had also looked down on Yang Fan. At that moment, the sisters Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing walked in from outside. When Yang Yun's mother saw them, she immediately understood what was happening. So you were the ones who brought the young man from the Yang family here to help you. So what if we did? You ungrateful old woman. Have you forgotten how our family treated you before? If we had not given you a job, with your abilities, could you have found a job that paid 6,000 a month? Li Shuiqing said angrily. Li Shuiping did not speak. Instead, she looked at Yang Yun. They had once been very good friends, but this incident had damaged their friendship. When Yang Yun's mother saw that the situation was hopeless, she originally wanted to make a scene and use her age to pressure them. However, after seeing all the people lying on the ground, she knew Yang Fan would never tolerate her behavior. Mom, just return the farm to them. It belonged to them in the first place. What we did before went too far. Yang Yun had felt extremely guilty during the past 2 days. Her conscience had been troubling her the entire time. At least you still have some conscience. I came here today not only to return this farm to its rightful owners, but also to tell you something. From now on, the entire Xiaoqiao village belongs to our kingdom of women. Everyone here will be under the authority of our kingdom of women. Anyone who does not want to join should take their belongings and leave the territory of our kingdom of women. I will not force anyone. Yang Fan said to everyone inside the farm. Kingdom of women? You think someone like you can establish a country? You are dreaming. Yang Yun's mother had always looked down on Yang Fan. After hearing his words, she immediately looked at him with disdain. Smack! Yang Fan swung his hand and slapped Yang Yun's mother to the ground. Who gave you the right to speak here? If you do not want to join, then get out. But your daughter must stay. Yang Fan stared coldly at Yang Yun's mother. Why? Do not think that just because no one can control you now, you can do whatever you want. Yang Yun's mother was seeing stars, but she was still conscious. I am doing this for your own good. Do you want your family line to end here? Yang Fan examined Yang Yun as he spoke. After hearing his words, Yang Yun's mother could no longer say anything. Now that Yang Fan was the only man left, she could forget about receiving a bride price. Whether her daughter would ever be able to marry was already uncertain. We agreed to join the kingdom of women. Do not hurt my mother again, or I will never agree to you, even if I die. Yang Yun came to her mother's side and looked at Yang Fan with tears in her eyes. Fine. You may leave now. I will come find you later. Yang Fan stopped making things difficult for Yang Yun and her mother. Yang Yun helped her mother leave the breeding farm. I have already helped you take back the farm. Now it is time for me to receive my reward. Yang Fan turned toward the sisters Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing. He decided to start with Li Shuiqing, who had spoken more. Before Li Shuiqing could react, Yang Fan lifted her onto his shoulder and carried her into the office. 2 hours later, Yang Fan did not check the reward given by the system. He directly lifted Li Shuiping onto his shoulder and carried her into the lounge next door. During this time, Tan Xinxin gathered all the women of Xiaoqiao village and told them about the kingdom of women. The women all understood that life would become increasingly difficult after losing the men. If they wanted to live stable lives again, someone had to organize everyone. After thinking about this, all of them agreed to join the kingdom of women. After Yang Fan finished his business, he began checking the rewards given by the system. Congratulations, Master, on gaining your 5th admirer. Reward: 500 points, 1 ultimate combat technique manual, and 100 internal energy enhancement pills. Congratulations, Master, on gaining your 6th admirer. Reward: 500 points, 1 ultimate swordsmanship manual, and 100 internal energy enhancement pills. Finally, it gave me some more powerful martial arts manuals. Yang Fan immediately checked the 2 martial arts manuals he had received. He first looked at the ultimate combat technique and discovered that this manual combined every form of combat martial art on Earth. It included kickboxing, Muay Thai, and every other form of modern combat. It also contained traditional martial arts routines and various lost secret techniques. It could be said that every fighting move created since the beginning of humanity was included in it. It was an extremely complete combat martial arts manual. This is great. Once I learn the combat techniques inside, my fighting ability will increase many times over. I will no longer be a beginner who only wins by accident. Yang Fan said excitedly. Yang Fan then checked the description of the ultimate swordsmanship manual. He discovered that, just like the ultimate combat technique, it combined every sword technique created by humanity and could be called the most complete version. After receiving the 2 manuals, Yang Fan did not immediately begin practicing. Instead, he planned to increase his internal energy first. After his previous battle with the muscular man, Yang Fan realized that internal energy was extremely important to him. After all the intense activity he had experienced over the past few days, his internal energy had now reached the 2nd level of the beginner stage, with an internal energy value of 300. I now have 200 internal energy enhancement pills. I wonder if swallowing all of them would make my body explode and kill me. Yang Fan thought about it and decided that it would be better not to take the risk. At present, Yang Fan was not sure how much internal energy 1 internal energy enhancement pill could increase, so he did not dare take the risk. He first tried taking 1 internal energy enhancement pill. Immediately afterward, he felt the internal energy in his lower abdomen increase slightly, and his internal energy value rose by 10 points. So 1 internal energy enhancement pill can increase internal energy by 10 points. 200 internal energy enhancement pills can increase it by 2,000 points. I do not know the limit of the 2nd beginner level. If I take all these internal energy enhancement pills, I should be able to break through to the 3rd beginner level. After taking 1 internal energy enhancement pill, Yang Fan did not feel any discomfort. Next, he directly took 10 internal energy enhancement pills. He still did not feel any discomfort, while his internal energy continued to increase. After that, he continued increasing the amount and soon finished all 200 internal energy enhancement pills. His internal energy cultivation directly broke through to the 3rd beginner level. His current internal energy value was 300. So the internal energy limit of the 2nd beginner level is 2,000. The limit of the 1st beginner level was 1,000. It seems the limit of the 3rd beginner level should be 3,000, and the later levels should follow the same pattern. Based on his previous experience, Yang Fan gradually figured out the limits of internal energy values. After finishing the internal energy enhancement pills, Yang Fan began practicing the ultimate combat technique and ultimate swordsmanship. As he practiced, the various fighting moves and sword techniques inside them became deeply imprinted in his mind. His body also underwent some changes, allowing him to skillfully perform those techniques and moves. Yang Fan did not open his eyes until he had practiced both techniques to the first level. At this moment, he was still inside the lounge. Li Shuiping was sleeping soundly on the sofa beside him. It was already night outside, and the sky was filled with stars. Yang Fan left the lounge and saw that the breeding farm had resumed operating. Many workers had already returned to their jobs. He walked out of the breeding farm and headed towards Xiaoqiao village. When he reached the courtyard of his old home, Yang Fan saw that the front gate was already covered in dust. His father had passed away when he was very young. After his mother raised him into adulthood, she went to work in a large city in the north and only returned once at the end of each year. After Yang Fan bought a home in the city, he returned to his old home even less often. He took out his key and opened the gate. The courtyard was covered with fallen leaves, and spiderwebs had formed on the walls. Seeing his old home in this condition, Yang Fan suddenly felt a wave of sadness. He found a broom and began cleaning. Before long, Yang Fan had cleaned the courtyard. He was about to enter the house and look around when he suddenly heard the sound of sword practice coming from the neighboring courtyard. The people living next door to Yang Fan's old home were Yang Yun and her mother. Yang Yun had not done well in school as a child, so her mother sent her to a martial arts school where she developed excellent fighting skills. It was also because of this that she had an excellent figure. Yang Fan remembered that when he had gone on a blind date with her before, he could not help wanting her to become his wife when he saw her attractive figure. Unfortunately, Yang Yun had looked down on Yang Fan at that time. Yang Fan lightly jumped and easily landed on the roof, which was more than 13 feet high. Looking into the neighboring courtyard, he saw that Yang Yun really was practicing swordsmanship there. Yang Yun seemed to be in a bad mood. Wearing pajamas, she practiced her sword techniques while sweating heavily. Good swordsmanship. Unfortunately, it has been simplified. This sword technique is now only suitable for display and has no practical combat ability. Yang Fan flipped down from the roof, landed in front of Yang Yun, and spoke. "Why, Your Majesty?" Yang Yun had not expected Yang Fan to suddenly appear from the roof. Remembering his current status, she quickly addressed him respectfully. Yang Fan examined Yang Yun. Although she was wearing loose pajamas, her perfect figure was still clearly visible. "What is wrong? Are you still angry with me?" Yang Fan could tell that Yang Yun was suppressing anger in her heart, and that anger came from him slapping her mother earlier that day. No, Yang Yun was indeed somewhat angry. After all, the person who had been struck was her mother. However, considering Yang Fan's status, she did not tell the truth. "All right, to make up for my mistake, I have decided to demonstrate the complete version of the sword technique you were practicing." Yang Fan stepped forward, took the sword from Yang Yun's hand, and immediately performed a set of refined sword techniques. This sword technique was not only beautiful to watch, but also useful in real combat, and could be used to kill enemies on the battlefield. Yang Yun carefully watched Yang Fan perform the sword technique and discovered that it was exceptionally refined. She had practiced this sword technique countless times, but had never imagined that it was only a simplified version. After seeing the complete sword technique, Yang Yun was immediately shocked and carefully memorized every move. However, the technique contained too many moves, and she could not remember all of them. After Yang Fan finished performing the sword technique, he began personally guiding Yang Yun through the practice, holding her hands as he taught her. Late at night, Yang Yun, a young woman who had never had a boyfriend, was being personally taught swordsmanship by Yang Fan while he held her hands. Her face immediately turned bright red. Looking at the shy Yang Yun, Yang Fan suddenly could no longer control himself. He lifted her onto his shoulder and carried her into the nearby bedroom. Yang Fan had taught her swordsmanship because he wanted to calm the anger in her heart and make her willingly accept him, since this was the system's condition. Now that his goal had been achieved, Yang Fan immediately took action. At noon the next day, Yang Yun's mother came to the bedroom door, knocked, and said, "Yun Yun, I have already worked for half the day. Why are you still not awake? Hurry and get up." Skipping breakfast was already enough. If you do not eat lunch either, you will become very hungry. Inside the room, Yang Yun felt extremely conflicted and did not dare open the door. She had now become Yang Fan's woman, and Yang Fan was beside her. "Go open the door. Your mother will have to learn about us sooner or later." Yang Fan smiled at Yang Yun. Yang Yun nodded, then walked toward the door. She did not regret becoming Yang Fan's woman. Instead, she felt fortunate because she had been very happy the previous night. The reason she did not dare open the door was that she did not know whether her mother could accept this result. After all, Yang Fan had slapped her mother the day before. A man's voice? Yun Yun, who is inside your room? When Yang Yun's mother heard a man's voice inside, she immediately became nervous. Yang Yun did not dare answer and directly opened the door. Her mother rushed inside. When she saw Yang Fan sitting casually on Yang Yun's bed, she immediately understood everything. Mom, I did this willingly. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Yang Yun was afraid her mother would blame Yang Fan, so she quickly walked over and spoke. Yang Yun's mother glared angrily at Yang Fan, but eventually suppressed her anger. She then turned to Yang Yun and said, Yun Yun, you are an adult now. No matter what you do, I will support you. She then walked toward the door. Just as she reached it, she suddenly turned around and said to Yang Fan, Your Majesty, treat my daughter well. I hope you can continue our family line. I have already prepared lunch. Come and eat together. After hearing her mother's words, Yang Yun's face immediately brightened. She wrapped both hands around Yang Fan's arm and happily went to eat. Congratulations, Master, on gaining your 7th admirer. Reward: 500 points, 1 Tyrannosaurus Sword Technique Manual, and 100 Internal Energy Enhancement Pills. It gave me another 100 Internal Energy Enhancement Pills. It seems the system wants me to increase my strength as quickly as possible. Yang Fan looked at the Tyrannosaurus Sword Technique and discovered that it was an extremely powerful sword technique capable of sweeping through thousands of soldiers. The ultimate swordsmanship manual he had received before was only a basic sword technique. Without any hesitation, Yang Fan immediately swallowed all 100 internal energy enhancement pills. Then he began practicing the Tyrannosaurus sword technique and trained it to the first level as well. Your Majesty, something is wrong. Look at the sky outside. Yang Yun's surprised voice suddenly came from the courtyard. Yang Fan came out of the room and looked up at the sky. He saw thick black mist beginning to cover the entire sky. System, what is happening? When Yang Fan saw this, he immediately asked the system in his mind. That army is coming. They want to transform Earth into the granary they need. The women on this planet will become their slaves and work for them. The system answered. Become their slaves? They would not do that to those women, would they? Do not worry. They look down on low-level Earthlings and will not violate the women of this planet. Their only goal is to make the women of this planet grow a certain crop for them. That crop is their food. The system explained. A crop that grows in darkness. Yang Fan watched the black mist block out the sky. It quickly covered the entire sky above him, and everything around him fell into darkness. I hate dark environments. System, is there any way to remove this black mist? Yang Fan asked the system in his mind. Yes, the human heart detector has that function. The system answered. The human heart detector? Yang Fan jumped onto the roof and looked toward Yangqing City. He discovered that the entire city had not been covered by the black mist. He immediately understood that the human heart detector was responsible. I did not expect the human heart detector to have this function. Yang Fan no longer hesitated. He immediately used his current points to buy more than 10 human heart detectors. Then he placed those human heart detectors in the more than 10 villages he had taken control of the day before. Those villages connected with Yangqing City drove away the black mist and became the only area of light on the planet. One human heart detector cost 10 points. Yang Fan bought 19 of them this time and spent 190 points. Including the points he had spent before, he now had 3,300 points remaining. Your territory has now become the only place with light on this planet. In the future, many stronger people from Mephiston will come looking for trouble. You should increase your strength as quickly as possible. The system warned Yang Fan. Yang Fan knew the system was telling the truth. The last time he defeated the muscular man, it was only because his opponent had been careless. If they had fought seriously at full strength, Yang Fan at that time would have found it very difficult to defeat him. I do not know how powerful my next opponent will be. I should make myself stronger as soon as possible. Yang Fan immediately brought the sisters Li Shuiping and Li Shuiqing, as well as Yang Yun and Tan Qin back to the city as quickly as possible. After returning to the house where they lived, Yang Fan stopped going outside. He also prevented his wives from going out and visited each of their rooms one by one. Each time, he only moved on to the next woman when the previous one could no longer endure it. Soon, 3 days and 3 nights of intense activity passed. All of Yang Fan's women were completely exhausted and resting in their rooms. Yang Fan checked his internal energy. It had now increased to the 4th beginner level, with an internal energy value of 900. Then Yang Fan began practicing the techniques he had received and trained all of them to the 2nd level. The outskirts of Yanqing City. A man and a woman wearing alien armor arrived there. The man was a very ugly and thin man. The woman was an exceptionally beautiful woman who looked like a heavenly fairy. I did not expect this low-level planet to possess such advanced power. Even you and I cannot break through this defense. The thin man looked at the area in front of him that the black mist could not cover and reached out to touch it. An invisible wall of light immediately knocked his hand away. It seems someone noticed this planet before us. I do not understand. Is it worth using such powerful energy to protect a low-level planet that can only be used to grow crops? The extremely beautiful woman said. If we want to know who the other person is, we only need to attack and find out. The thin man slowly extended his right hand. A red beam of light violently struck the invisible wall. Bang! The wall of light remained completely undamaged and directly reflected the red light back at him. The thin man was greatly shocked and quickly dodged. You really are useless. The extremely beautiful woman looked at the thin man with disdain. Huwu, do not just stand there insulting me. Do you not want to know who owns this power? The thin man was unhappy, but he did not dare do anything to the extremely beautiful woman. To me, this is only an unimportant matter. Do not forget why we came here. Our duty is to grow food, nothing more. The extremely beautiful woman looked indifferent and had no intention of attacking. But this power keeps expanding. You also saw it a few days ago. When we first arrived here, only one city possessed this power. But soon afterward, the surrounding villages were also included. It is obvious that someone is controlling this power. The thin man continued trying to persuade the extremely beautiful woman. Did you not want to know who owns this power? It seems he has already arrived. Huwu stared ahead as a streak of light flew toward them. Using his lightness skill, Yang Fan reached the outskirts of the city at extremely high speed and saw a man and a woman outside. Their clothes and armor were exactly the same as those worn by the muscular man he had met before. People from Mephiston. There is even a woman. This woman is so beautiful. Yang Fan had never seen such a beautiful woman before and was captivated for a moment. Huwu's facial features were extremely delicate and almost perfect. Anyone who saw her once would never forget her. Her figure was also perfect, with every part exactly right. Her entire body gave off a beauty that surpassed ordinary people, making others unable to resist looking at her several more times. After noticing Yang Fan's gaze, Huwu could not help frowning. Are you the person who possesses this power? The thin man examined Yang Fan from head to toe. He discovered that Yang Fan was only a very ordinary earthling, but he possessed power that did not belong there. That is right. Yang Fan continued staring at Huwu, preparing to find a chance to capture her later. Then were you also the one who killed my companion earlier? The thin man continued, asking Yang Fan. Yes. Yang Fan openly admitted it. Good. Today, I will avenge my companion. Prepare to die. The thin man glared angrily at Yang Fan. Yang Fan stepped out of the human heart detector's range and entered the darkness outside. He calmly looked at the thin man and said, Good. I also want to kill you. Then have this lady all to myself. When Huwu heard Yang Fan's words, her frown deepened, but she did not become angry. The thin man suddenly laughed loudly and said, You low-level humans certainly have great ambition. Do you know how large the difference between levels is? She is not an ordinary woman from Earth. If the two of you join together, she will drain all your vital energy and turn you into a dried corpse. Yang Fan completely ignored the thin man's words and continued examining Huwu. Really? It does not matter. If I can have such a beautiful woman, even dying would be worth it. As expected of a low-level human, your mind is filled with those filthy things. I am afraid your dream will never come true. Today, I will make sure you never return. The thin man took a pair of glasses from his pocket and put them on. The glasses were exactly the same as the ones worn by the muscular man before. Your combat power is 37. No wonder you were able to kill my companion. But my combat power is 56, which is more than enough to deal with you. The thin man laughed proudly. 37. When Yang Fan heard this number, he remembered that the muscular man had also mentioned a number before. At that time, he had said Yang Fan's combat power was 7. After improving over the past few days, Yang Fan's combat power had increased by a full 30 points. Make your move. Do not waste time. After I deal with you, I still need to take this lady back and enjoy myself. Yang Fan moved his arms and legs as he spoke. Recently, not only had his strength greatly improved, but after practicing those techniques, his fighting skills had also improved considerably. He was no longer the inexperienced fighter he had been before. Low-level human, you are still speaking arrogantly. The thin man raised his fist. An invisible force wrapped around his body, and he charged toward Yang Fan like a cannonball. Yang Fan gathered his internal energy and also threw a punch at the thin man. Bang! Their fists collided, and the power inside Yang Fan's body increased instead of weakening. The power surrounding the thin man was suddenly shattered, and his entire body was sent flying backward. Even the armor on his body was broken apart by the impact. You hid your strength. Your combat power is definitely higher than 37. The thin man's right fist and half of his body lay limp on the ground like a pile of mud. Both his bones and internal organs had been completely shattered. You aliens really do have strong bodies. You suffered such serious injuries, yet you can still speak. Yang Fan looked at the thin man in surprise. As for the thin man saying that he had hidden his strength, the combat power the thin man had seen was only Yang Fan's strength in his normal state. That number was not accurate. Once Yang Fan entered a fighting state and used all the internal energy in his body, his strength increased several times over. You still have not answered my question. The thin man looked unwillingly at Yang Fan. All right, since you are about to die, I will tell you the truth. We humans have a saying, do not rely too much on electronic devices. Yang Fan smiled slightly at the thin man and threw another punch at his head. Bang! With a dull sound, the thin man's life instantly ended, and his body turned into dust and disappeared. After finishing this, Yang Fan looked at Huowu in surprise. You watched your companion get killed by me, but not only did you refuse to help, you also do not feel sad at all. Are all aliens as cold-blooded as you? He was weaker than his opponent, so sooner or later he would have died. Even if he had not died by your hand today, he would have died by someone else's hand in the future. Why should I feel sad about something that was certain to happen? Huowu looked calmly at Yang Fan. That makes sense. Let us make a deal. If I can defeat you today, you will become my woman. Yang Fan smiled at Huowu. As expected of a low-level human. Is that the only thing in your mind? I am different from that man. My combat power is 107. I already checked. The strength you released in that instant was approximately 76. There is still a considerable gap between you and me. Huowu did not believe Yang Fan could defeat her. It seems you did not learn from your companion's mistake and are still relying on your instruments. Fine. I will now show you my true strength and make you accept your defeat completely. Yang Fan waved his right hand, and a long sword appeared in it. The sword belonged to Yang Yun, but it had now become Yang Fan's weapon. Fine. Then let me see how much true strength you have. Huowu extended both hands, and a fire dragon flew out from her palms. After flying forward for some distance, the fire dragon instantly became enormous and rushed toward Yang Fan. First move of the Tyrannosaurus sword technique. Furious Dragon Slash. Yang Fan shouted loudly, raised the long sword, and swung it downward from above. A sword beam more than 130 feet long violently struck the fire dragon and instantly destroyed it. The remaining force of the sword beam struck Huowu. She was immediately sent flying backward, and her body crashed through an abandoned house in the suburbs. She fell into the ruins. Yang Fan looked at the power of that sword strike and was also shocked. If I replaced this sword with a treasured sword, its power would increase several times over. It seems that after I return, I should carefully choose a suitable weapon from the store. At this moment, because the long sword in Yang Fan's hand had endured the power of the previous attack, Its blade was already covered in cracks. With a cracking sound, it shattered into countless pieces. Yang Fan threw away the handle and immediately flew toward the injured Huowu. Sorry, I used too much strength just now. Are you all right? Yang Fan did not care whether Huowu agreed and directly lifted her horizontally from the ruins. A trace of blood remained at the corner of Huowu's mouth. She spoke in a somewhat depressed voice. I lost. Whether you want to kill me or cut me apart, do as you wish. How could I bear to kill you? A beauty as stunning as you should naturally be taken home and properly enjoyed. Yang Fan was extremely pleased and immediately brought Huowu back into the city. He first treated Huowu's injuries, then impatiently took her into the bedroom. Huowu's physical condition was much stronger than that of an earthling. Yang Fan fought intensely with her for an entire day and night, but she still did not show an expression of being unable to endure it like the women from Earth. The next morning, Yang Fan looked at the extremely obedient Huowu in his arms and said, although I am a low-level human, were you satisfied with my performance? Huowu held Yang Fan tightly, nodded, and said, you are my first man and also my last man. From now on, I belong only to you. You are not inferior at all. Instead, you greatly exceeded my expectations, so I willingly became your woman. Yang Fan had not expected this alien woman to be so devoted. In this regard, she was better than most women on Earth. Yang Fan then began checking the reward he had received and discovered that this reward was much more generous than the previous ones.